When I came back carrying my father's white dress shirt over one arm, half the ceremony chairs were already folded. At first I thought the wind had knocked something over. 2 employees from the inn were moving between the rows, collapsing wooden chairs with dull, efficient clacks. My mother stood near the flower arch with both hands pressed to her cheeks. My sister, Natalie, was crying without ruining her mascara, a skill she had perfected years earlier. Evan was beside the parking lot. He had changed out of his jacket, his tie hung loose, and Marisol, our officiant, stood in front of him holding a cream-colored envelope I recognized immediately. My handwriting, my stamp, my vows. "What happened?" I asked. No one answered. I held up the shirt as if the whole scene might still be about that. "Dad, they found it behind the bedroom door." Evan looked at me with a face I had only seen once before, in the hospital room where his mother died. "Your sister told me you canceled our vows." My eyes went to Natalie. She shook her head quickly. "Claire, I can explain." Marisol raised the envelope. "I still have Claire's letter." That was the moment the ground shifted, not when I understood that Natalie had lied, but when I realized Evan had believed her. 9 weeks earlier, my marriage had been interrupted by a potato. It was a Thursday night, and Evan had made rosemary chicken with those little yellow potatoes he cooked in the cast-iron skillet until the bottoms went crisp. We were eating at the narrow table in our kitchen, the one we had bought when we first moved into the house, and still believed we would someday have a dining room large enough to make it look appropriately small. Evan had set a blue folder beside his plate. I noticed it immediately. I also pretended not to. "You're staring at the folder," he said. "I'm looking at the chicken. The chicken is on your left. I can appreciate it peripherally." He smiled, but only for a second. I got the offer. I put my fork down. Outside, somebody rolled a trash bin along the alley. Our refrigerator hummed. The clock above the stove made a tiny mechanical click as the minute hand moved. "Madison?" I asked. "Madison." I knew he had interviewed. I knew he had done a second interview. I knew he had worn the charcoal jacket that made his shoulders look broader and taken the call from his truck, because he said the house felt crowded, even when I was the only other person in it. Still, I had treated the job like weather in another state. Real, maybe, but not something I needed to dress for. He touched the folder. "It's a good offer, Claire." "How good?" "Good enough that you're asking how good instead of saying congratulations. That is not fair." "No." He leaned back. "It's observant." My phone buzzed against the table. We both looked at it. Mom flashed across the screen. Evan gave a small laugh through his nose. "What?" "Nothing. It could be important. It always could." My mother called again before the first vibration had fully stopped. I picked up. "Mom, your father is choking." I was out of my chair so fast my knee struck the table. A potato rolled off my plate and bounced once on the floor. "What do you mean, choking? Call 911. In the background, my father said, very clearly, "I am not choking." "He swallowed something wrong," Mom said. I coughed. He turned red. "I was coughing, Diane." "People turn red. Can he breathe?" I asked. "Obviously, he can breathe now." Evan closed his eyes. I sat back down. "So what do you need me to do?" My mother lowered her voice. "I need you to talk to him. He refuses to get checked." Dad took the phone from her. "I don't need to get checked. Your mother made pork chops thick enough to stop a bullet." "I heard that," Mom said. "You were intended to." I rubbed my forehead. "Dad, if you're having trouble breathing or swallowing, you need urgent care. If you coughed once because dinner was dry, drink some water." "Thank you," he said. A reasonable person. My mother reclaimed the phone. "I just thought you should know." That sentence had governed most of my adult life. "I just thought you should know" meant I had been handed a situation. If I did nothing and it later became a disaster, I had known. "Keep an eye on him," I said. "Call me if anything changes." "I will. Are you doing anything?" Evan looked at his plate. "We're having dinner." "Oh. Well, don't let me interrupt." By the time she hung up, the potato on the floor had rolled under the radiator. Evan picked up his fork. "Should I wait to tell you until your father survives the pork chop?" Come on, I'm serious. We may be in a vigil now. He did choke. He coughed. I know, but she got scared. She always gets scared, and then you get assigned. Assigned what? I told her to watch him. You'll call back in 20 minutes. I opened my mouth. He waited. I hated when he waited. It made lying harder. I'll probably text. Of course. Can we not turn my dad almost choking into a referendum on my family? I didn't. Your mother turned it into a referendum on our dinner. There had been a time when Evan's irritation with my family made me defensive because it felt like irritation with me. More recently, it made me tired because I could hear the part that was true. I pointed at the folder. Tell me about the offer. He slid it across the table. The firm in Madison wanted him to lead a restoration team working on older public buildings. The salary was better, the benefits were better, they would cover part of the move. He had highlighted a paragraph about the start date, which was 14 weeks away. You highlighted it? I asked. I highlight things. You underline things. Yellow highlighting means you're emotionally involved. That got a real smile. I am emotionally involved. I read the first page twice. 14 weeks is fast. They'll negotiate. My job is remote. My team is based here. Your team is based in 4 states. Trevor works from an RV. Trevor is 26 and owns 1 fork. That's all the more reason not to build your life around Trevor. I closed the folder. My parents are here. So is Natalie. The answer came too quickly, and we both knew it. I looked at him. Natalie isn't me. No, he said. She's their other adult daughter. My dad has that shoulder procedure coming up. In 6 months. Maybe. Mom hates driving downtown. Your mother drove to Louisville for curtains. She wanted to see them in person. They were curtains, Claire. They weren't in hospice. I laughed, though I did not want to. Evan had always been able to find the one comparison that made my family sound exactly as unreasonable as they were. Then my phone buzzed again. This time it was Natalie. SOS. Are you home? I turned the screen face down. Evan watched me do it. That's growth. She said SOS. They all say SOS. Your family uses emergency language for regular nouns. Another message appeared. Need your black dress tomorrow. Mine makes me look divorced. I snorted. Evan raised an eyebrow. She needs a dress. Code blue. She has a work thing. Does she still work at the real estate office? She runs their social media. I thought she quit. She unquit. Natalie had a way of describing every reversal as if it had been her strategy from the beginning. She had not gone back to the office because she needed money after missing 3 rent payments. She had re-entered the traditional workplace to stabilize her creative goals. When she backed her car into a concrete post, she said the parking garage had been designed aggressively. I loved her. That was part of the problem. Natalie could make me laugh while taking something out of my hands. I texted, "Come by Saturday, I'm wearing it tomorrow." The dots appeared immediately. I only need it tomorrow. I set the phone down again. Evan cut into his chicken. What did you say? That I'm wearing it? And she only needs it tomorrow. He stared at me. I'm not giving it to her. I didn't say anything. Your face did. My face is cautiously optimistic. I took another bite, although dinner had gone lukewarm. Madison is 5 hours away. 4.5. In good weather. We own coats. You've thought through everything. I've had time. That landed quietly. For months, Evan had been telling me he was unhappy in Indianapolis. Not dramatically. Evan did very little dramatically. He said it while fixing the loose handle on the bathroom drawer. He said it in bed with the lights off. He said it after my mother called during a concert because she could not remember the password to her streaming account, and I stepped into the lobby to help her reset it. I always listened. I also always found a reason that listening was enough. How long do you have to decide? I asked. 10 days. That's not much time. It's enough time to say no. The way he said it frightened me more than if he had raised his voice. My phone rang a 3rd time. Natalie now. I rejected the call. It rang again. Evan stood, picked up his plate, and carried it to the sink. "I'm not answering," I said. "I can see that." "Then why are you getting up?" "I'm done eating. You barely ate." I lost my appetite around the second emergency. I followed him into the kitchen. "So now I'm responsible for my phone ringing?" "No. You're responsible for the fact that everybody knows if they keep ringing, you'll eventually answer." I rejected her twice. "And you're standing here thinking about the third call instead of the job offer. That's because you're making it a test." He put his plate down too hard. "Not a slam. Evan never gave me the satisfaction of a slam." "It is a test," he said, "not one I invented." The phone stopped. Silence settled between us, thin and temporary. Then someone knocked on the front door. 3 quick taps, 2 slow ones. Natalie's knock. Evan looked toward the hallway and laughed once, without humor. Of course. She let herself in before I reached the door. My sister had a key because 2 years earlier she had watered our plants while we were in Savannah. We had come home to 3 dead herbs, a clean wine glass in the sink, and Natalie permanently convinced our house was partially hers. She swept inside wearing heeled boots and a camel coat, carrying a white bakery box. "I brought pie," she announced. "You're not getting the dress," I said. She stopped. "Hello to you, too. Why are you here?" "You weren't answering. I texted you. You were being weird." Evan leaned against the kitchen doorway. "She told you no. It can sound unusual the first time." Natalie smiled at him. Her smile was warm, bright, and just pointed enough to remind him he had never fully belonged to the club. "I need it for one night," she said to me. "You have other dresses." "I'm wearing that one tomorrow." "To what?" "Dinner with Evan." She looked between us. "Like a date?" "No, like a municipal hearing." "Okay, wow." I brought pecan pie and walked into a hostage situation. Despite myself, I almost smiled. She saw it and moved closer, lowering her voice as if Evan were not 6 feet away. "The regional director is coming. I need to look established. You own clothes, I own aspirational clothes. Natalie," her face changed. Not much. The brightness dimmed, and suddenly she looked tired rather than charming. "I'm trying, Claire." There it was, the family password. "I'm trying" meant the next thing I did would reveal whether I was generous or cruel. It meant her need was now a measure of my character. I glanced at Evan. He did not shake his head. He did not have to. "No," I said. Natalie blinked. "Seriously?" "Yes, it's a dress." "Then this shouldn't be a big deal." "It isn't. That's why I don't understand why you're making it one." Evan looked down. Natalie followed my gaze to the blue folder on the table. "What's that?" "Nothing," I said too quickly. She walked over and read the firm's name upside down. "Wisconsin?" Evan straightened. Natalie looked at me. "What's in Wisconsin?" Before I could answer, my mother called again. Natalie stared at my ringing phone, then at the folder, and something wary passed over her face. Evan picked up his jacket from the back of the chair. "Where are you going?" I asked. "For a walk. We're in the middle of a conversation." "No," he said, looking at my phone. "We're waiting for your family to finish one." The front door closed behind him. My mother's call stopped, then started again before I could decide whether following my husband or answering my phone made me a better person. Natalie picked up the blue folder. "Put that down." She ignored me long enough to read the first page. "This is a job offer. I know what it is. In Madison." "Yes." She looked toward the front door. "Does Mom know?" "No, and neither do you. That doesn't make sense. It means this is between Evan and me." She gave me the wounded look she usually reserved for waiters who removed her plate before she had finished photographing it. "I'm your sister, and he's my husband." The words came out sharper than I intended. Natalie set the folder down. "Okay." She said it softly, which was worse than if she had snapped back. Natalie knew how to make a room feel as if everyone else had suddenly become unkind. My phone stopped ringing. I picked it up and texted my mother. "Is Dad okay?" Her response came immediately. "He is fine. I'm the one who is shaken, but don't worry about me." Natalie read my face. What happened? Dad coughed during dinner. Oh, God. Is he okay? He's fine. Did she call his doctor? He coughed. That can be serious. You smoked for 6 years. Socially. You smoked alone in your car? I was on the phone. I grabbed my coat from the hook. You need to go. You're kicking me out. I'm going to find Evan. And what am I supposed to do with the pie? Take it home. I don't even like pecan. Then why did you bring it? You like it. For 1 weak second, that worked on me. My sister standing in my kitchen with a pie she did not like, looking smaller inside her expensive coat. Love was rarely absent in our family. It was just tangled up with the bill. Thank you for the pie, I said. You still can't have the dress. Her mouth tightened. This isn't about the dress anymore. It was never about the dress. What's that supposed to mean? I don't have time to explain it. You always say that when you're trying to make me feel stupid. No, I say that when I don't have time. I went out before she could answer. The November air had teeth. Evan was already halfway down the block, passing the narrow brick houses with his hands shoved into his jacket pockets. I caught up with him near the little neighborhood bar where we sometimes went on Tuesdays because the bartender gave everybody free popcorn and called it dinner. Evan, he kept walking. Could you slow down? I'm walking at a normal speed. You have longer legs, an advantage I've rarely exploited. Now you're being sarcastic. Also not new. I caught his sleeve. He stopped beside a leaf-clogged storm drain. Through the bar window, I could see a basketball game on television. 3 people leaned over their drinks, watching somebody attempt a free throw. It looked like another world in there, one where people were allowed to care about a single thing at a time. I'm sorry, I said. For which part? My mom calling. Natalie coming over. The whole circus. That's not an apology, Claire. That's a weather report. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me what you want. I haven't had time to think. You've had 6 months. About Madison? About us leaving. I crossed my arms against the cold. You never said you were applying out of state until last month. I said I wanted a change. I said this house felt like an extension of your parents' house. I said I was tired of planning every weekend around people who do not plan a single hour around us. That is not the same as saying Wisconsin. No, Wisconsin has apparently made it real. A car passed, tires whispering over damp pavement. I looked back toward our house. From where we stood, I could see the warm rectangle of our kitchen window. Natalie moved behind it, still there. She read the offer, I said. Of course she did. I told her not to tell Mom, then we should have at least 6 minutes. Can you stop? I'm trying. No, you're scoring points. His face changed. You think I want to win this? I think you want me to admit my family is terrible so you can feel justified. I don't think they're terrible. I think they love you in a way that keeps you useful. The sentence went straight through me. I looked at the ground. A flattened red leaf clung to the toe of my boot. You love being the one who can handle everything, he said. And they love never having to find out if anyone else can. That's easy for you to say. Your family doesn't need you. My father asks me for help twice a year. Because when I say I can't, he calls somebody else. My parents aren't like that, I know. You say that like it's my fault. I'm saying they're not going to change while the current system works beautifully for them. My eyes burned from the cold. At least that was what I told myself. If I ask you to turn down the job, will you? He stared at me for a long moment. Yes. The answer hurt more than no would have. But something has to change, he said. Here or there, something has to change. What does that mean? It means I don't want another year where your mother's forgotten password becomes our evening. I don't want to eat Thanksgiving dinner at 10 because Natalie decided at 7 that she couldn't host. I don't want you angry at me every time I point out that you're exhausted. I'm not angry at you for noticing. You are, when I suggest a reason. I wanted to argue, but memory began offering evidence without being asked. Evan alone at our anniversary table while I drove across town because Natalie had locked herself out of her apartment. Evan taking my parents to the airport after Robert decided the parking rates were predatory, even though their flight left at 5 in the morning. Evan sitting in a concert lobby holding my untouched drink while I reset my mother's television password. "I can do better," I said. "You've said that before. I meant it before." "I know. That's part of why I'm scared." The bar door opened, releasing a burst of noise and warm air. A man stepped outside to take a call, saw us, and turned politely away. I lowered my voice. "So what are you saying? You'll stay if I become a different person?" "No, I'm saying I'll stay if we build a different life." "That sounds like the same thing." "It isn't." I watched his breath fade between us. 10 days, I said, 10 days. "I need all 10. "I know." When we returned to the house, Natalie was gone. So was the pie. The blue folder sat exactly where Evan had left it, but my mother had sent 4 messages. "What is happening in Wisconsin? Why didn't you tell us? Natalie is very upset. Please call me before I imagine the worst." Evan read them over my shoulder. 6 minutes, he said. I was generous. I called Natalie. She answered with, "Before you yell, I did not tell her you were moving. We're not moving." The words left my mouth before I could catch them. Evan went still. I turned away from him. Natalie said, "Exactly." I told her Evan got an offer. That's completely different. I specifically asked you not to tell her. You said she didn't know. You didn't say it was a secret. I said it was between Evan and me. And you handed me information that affects our entire family. I did not hand you anything. You picked up a private folder. I was standing in your kitchen. It wasn't in a vault. Why did you call Mom? Because she was already upset about Dad almost choking. He coughed. Fine. He coughed traumatically. This is not funny. I'm not laughing. You had no right. She went quiet. I could hear traffic behind her. Then she said, "Are you actually considering it?" I glanced at Evan. He had moved to the sink and was scraping cold food into the trash. "Yes," Natalie breathed out. "Wow, that's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? Congratulations on considering abandoning the Midwest? Madison is in the Midwest. You know what I mean." "No, I don't." "What about Dad's shoulder?" The question was so predictable that I nearly laughed. "What about it?" "You said you'd help after the procedure, if he has it. And if we move, I can come back." "For how long? We don't even have a date. Mom can't do that alone. She won't be alone. You live 20 minutes away." Another silence. "I work in an office," Natalie said. "So do millions of people who help their parents. You work from home. There it is." "What?" "The reason this affects the entire family. You're twisting what I said. No, for once I'm hearing it." I hung up before she could turn hurt into leverage. Evan had stopped cleaning. He stood with both hands braced on the counter, facing away from me. "You told her we're not moving," he said. I panicked. It sounded automatic. It was. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "No." He nodded once, then went upstairs. That night, he slept beside me without touching me. The space between our bodies felt carefully measured. At 7 the next morning, someone pounded on the front door. My mother stood on the porch holding a plastic container of bran muffins. She wore dark glasses even though the sky was gray, and her lipstick was slightly outside the line on one side, which meant she had applied it in the car. "I was in the neighborhood," she said. "You live 35 minutes away. I had errands." "At 7? She lifted the container. I brought breakfast. Behind me, Evan came down the stairs, already dressed for work. My mother's face softened. There he is. "Morning, Diane. I hear congratulations may be in order." "They're not," I said. She stepped inside without waiting to be invited. "I'm not here to pressure anyone. I want that understood immediately." Evan took his keys from the bowl by the door. "Understood. You don't have to leave on my account. I have a job." "Here," she said, with a tiny smile that might have passed for a joke if she had not looked terrified. Evan kissed my cheek. His lips were cool. "Call me later," I said. He nodded, told my mother to have a good day, and left. She waited until his truck pulled away. Then she removed her glasses. Her eyes were swollen. "Mom, I didn't sleep. You didn't need to come over. I'm your mother. My daughter may be moving 5 hours away. Was I supposed to make toast and wait for a formal announcement? We haven't decided anything. Evan has. No, he received an offer. Men don't apply for jobs 5 hours away because they're content. I took the muffin container from her and put it on the table. Did you come here to talk about my marriage? I came here because I love you. That wasn't my question. She pulled out a chair. She looked suddenly older than she had the night before, though not fragile. My mother was strongest when convincing everyone she might break. I have always supported your marriage, she said. You call during dinner 3 nights a week. I don't know when you eat. You called at our anniversary dinner. Your father's blood pressure was high. It was 138/82. You remembered the number, so apparently it mattered. I stared at her. She folded her hands on the table. I am not asking you to refuse this opportunity. Good. I would never stand in the way of your happiness. Also good. I only want to make sure you understand what leaving would mean. There it was, walking in behind all the good intentions. What would it mean? Her gaze moved around my kitchen, touching the blue folder, the second coffee mug, the rosemary still scattered on the stovetop. Your father and I are not getting younger. You're 63. My mother was 63 when she had her first stroke. You had a physical 2 months ago. You're healthy. Today. I leaned against the counter. And Natalie? What about her? She lives here. Natalie is rebuilding her life. She's 34. She doesn't have your steadiness. That's not a medical condition. My mother flinched. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm asking why her instability becomes my obligation. No one said obligation. You drove across town before breakfast. I drove across town because you were keeping something enormous from us. Because I had not discussed it with my husband yet. She looked toward the door as if Evan might still be standing there. I worry that he doesn't understand how connected you are to this family. He understands better than anyone. I'm sure he believes he does. Mom. She stood. Fine. I said I wouldn't pressure you, and I won't. You've been pressuring me since you walked in. I came with muffins. You came with a hostage negotiation in Tupperware. To my surprise, she laughed. It was short and unwilling, but real. For a second, she was just my mother, funny and embarrassed, and caught. Then her face folded. If you leave, she said quietly, everything will fall on Natalie. I looked at her. She seemed to hear herself only after the words were out. Neither of us spoke. My mother reached for her purse. I meant that she'll miss you, she said. No, you didn't. Claire? For once, Mom, don't fix the sentence. Just let me hear what you said. She put her sunglasses back on. Mom, look at me. I am looking at you. No, you're hiding your eyes. They're puffy. Then be puffy. She took the glasses off with an irritated little motion and dropped them into her purse. I chose my words poorly, she said. You chose them honestly. That is not the same thing. It should be. She pulled her coat closed, though the kitchen was warm. Natalie's life has been difficult. Why? My mother blinked. What do you mean? Why? What has happened to her that didn't happen to her because of choices she made? Her marriage ended 4 years ago. Pain doesn't follow a calendar. Apparently neither does rent because I covered hers twice last year. She paid you back. She paid me some of it. I didn't know that. You didn't ask. You just thanked me for helping her. My mother looked genuinely troubled, which almost made me stop. I was used to her defending Natalie. I was less used to seeing her encounter a fact she had avoided knowing. She told me she handled that, she said. She did. By calling me. Well, you should have told us. Why? So Dad could give me a speech about family? You make your father sound like a tyrant. Dad once asked me to change my vacation because Natalie scheduled movers on the same weekend. He asked. He called it selfish when I said no. You changed it anyway. That doesn't make him right. No, but it suggests the situation was more complicated than you're presenting. I stared at her. She had a defense for everything because she believed fairness meant nobody should ever be solely responsible for what they had done. Why am I the one who has to keep everything from getting ugly? I asked. She looked toward the window. Because you're good at it, she said. There it was again. A compliment with a job hidden inside. I'm tired of being good at it. My mother's expression softened. Oh, honey. I stepped back before she could hug me. Her hands fell awkwardly to her sides. I'm not saying we're moving, I told her. I'm saying Evan and I get to decide without the entire family leaning on one side of the scale. We're not leaning. You're standing in my kitchen at 7:30 in the morning. I brought muffins. I don't even like bran muffins. Your father needs more fiber. Then why are they here? She looked at the container as if it had betrayed her. For one terrible second, we both laughed. That was how my family survived things. Somebody made a joke, everybody breathed, and the truth slipped out through a side door. My mother reached for me again, more cautiously this time. I let her squeeze my arm. I don't want to lose you, she said. You won't. It won't be the same. No, it won't. She nodded, but her face said she had heard a threat. After she left, I stood in the kitchen eating one of the muffins over the sink. It was dry enough to explain my father's coughing incident retroactively. I called Evan. He answered on the second ring. Everything okay? It bothered me that this was still his first question. Mom left. Did she take Wisconsin with her? She tried. He was quiet. I could hear clicking in the background, probably his turn signal. She said if I left, everything would fall on Natalie. Wow, I know. No, I mean wow that she said it out loud. I made her leave the sentence alone. How did that go? She brought muffins. He laughed, then stopped himself. Sorry, they're awful. You can laugh. Another turn signal clicked. I'm sorry about last night, I said. When I told Natalie we weren't moving. You panicked. That doesn't excuse it. No. I hated that he did not rush to make my apology easier. I don't want you to turn down the job, I said. He took a breath. That's not the same as wanting me to take it. Why does every sentence have to go through customs with you? Because we're talking about moving 4.5 hours away and you keep giving me answers about what you don't want. I don't know what I want yet. Okay, that's all? That's the first honest answer you've given me. The call ended better than dinner had, though not well enough to make me comfortable. My father called before lunch. Your mother came home mad at Bran, he said. She shouldn't have brought muffins into a negotiation. I told her that. Pastries are too emotional. I smiled despite myself. Are you okay? With Wisconsin? With the pork chop, I survived. Good. He cleared his throat. Listen, your mother doesn't always say things the way she means them. She meant what she said. She worries. So does everybody. Most people don't drive across town to assign their capable daughter permanent local residency. You always make things sound worse when you're angry. Is Evan making me consider moving? Dad went silent. I'm asking because that's what you really called to find out. He's ambitious, my father said carefully. So am I. Of course you are. What does that mean? It means his work has always been more central to your plans. That's not true. Your job can be done anywhere. Which makes it less important? I didn't say that. You keep saying things and then announcing you didn't say them. He sighed. I'm trying to understand why you'd leave everyone you know. I'd be leaving the city, not entering witness protection. This is your home. Evan is my home too. That's very poetic. It wasn't meant to be. He coughed. I waited. That was real, he said. I didn't accuse you. Your mother's in the other room. She looked over. Dad, I have to work. Before you go, could you take my truck to the dealership Monday morning? They're checking that noise near the rear wheel. I closed my eyes. Ask Natalie. She works Monday. So do I. You work from your house. I work. I know you work, Claire. Don't start talking to me like I'm one of those people who thinks remote jobs aren't real. You just used it as the reason I should take your truck. I used it as the reason you have more flexibility. Ask Natalie. She won't be able to. Did you ask? I know her schedule. You knew I was available before you called? He paused. That pause answered more than anything he could have said. I can't do it, I told him. Since when? The question came out before he could soften it. Since Monday, I said. Apparently. I hung up shaking. I expected guilt. Instead, I felt something stranger, like I had stepped off an escalator that had been carrying me backward for years. I was still in the same place, but my body did not know how to stand still. Dad sent a thumbs up 10 minutes later. Then, a minute after that, I'll figure it out. I took a screenshot and sent it to Evan. He responded with a trophy emoji. The dealership did not close. My father's truck did not explode. Natalie drove him Monday morning, though my mother later mentioned that Natalie had been forced to rearrange an extremely important content meeting, which sounded less alarming when I learned it had been scheduled over coffee with her supervisor. During those 10 days, Evan and I spoke about Madison in pieces. Rent, snow, my work. His father, who lived in Ohio and said 4.5 hours was what God made podcasts for. We avoided the question underneath all the practical ones, whether distance would solve anything or simply give me new ways to feel guilty. The firm invited Evan to visit again before he decided. I went with him. The farther north we drove, the more the trees thinned and the sky widened. Somewhere past Chicago, my mother called, then Natalie, then my mother again. I switched my phone to silent. Evan noticed, but did not comment. Madison was colder than Indianapolis, with wind coming off the lakes like it had a personal grievance. We walked around downtown with our coats zipped to our chins. Evan showed me the office, a renovated brick building with huge windows and old beams overhead. His potential supervisor, a woman named Jocelyn, shook my hand and told me Evan had been talking about my ability to work anywhere. "You'll have to tell us your secret," she said. "My husband can barely answer email from our kitchen. Noise-canceling headphones and low standards for lunch," I said. She laughed. Evan looked alive there. That was what I noticed. Not younger exactly, more visible. He stood beside a table covered in drawings, asking questions with both hands moving. At home, he had become quieter, so gradually I had mistaken it for maturity. We ate dinner at a crowded restaurant near the Capitol. Snow had started falling, small dry flakes that blew sideways under the streetlights. "I can picture you here," I said. Evan set down his glass. "Can you picture yourself?" "I liked the office. You wouldn't work there. I liked seeing you in it." That wasn't my question. "I know." He waited. I looked out the window. People hurried past with their shoulders raised against the wind. Nobody knew me. Nobody needed a ride, a password, a dress, a revised Thanksgiving menu, or a second opinion about whether a cough counted as choking. "I can picture quiet," I said. "That sounds lonely. It sounds incredible." He smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. "I've pictured you here." "When?" "For a while." The admission stung. "So you planned this without me. I hoped without you." "There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes. Planning assumes control. Hope is just privately embarrassing." I picked at the paper label on my water bottle. He leaned forward. "I imagined us having a place where your family had to knock." "They knock now. Natalie has a key. She had a key. You asked for it back?" "Not yet. Then she has a key." I looked at him. "Take the job." His expression did not change. "I mean it," I said. "Why? Because you want it, do you?" "I want you." "That's a beautiful answer and a dangerous reason to move. You said this life has to change." "I did. So let's change it." He sat back. "I don't want you getting on a truck because you're angry at your mother." "I'm not. You refused your father one favor and now you're ready to cross state lines. It wasn't one favor." "I know that." "Do you?" I pushed my plate away. What is the correct response here? I say no, and I'm choosing them. I say yes, and I'm running away. You've built a question I can only fail. I'm asking you to know why you're answering. I don't know how. He looked down at his hands. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet. Then maybe we need help. The phrase hung between us. Help was what other people asked me for. I had no idea how to be the person who needed it. "You mean counseling?" I said. "Yes." "Before we decide?" We have 3 days. That's not enough time to fix a marriage. No, Evan said. But it might be enough time to stop pretending this is only about a job. We can't get a counselor in 3 days, I said. We can try. People wait months. Then we make the decision without one. That seems unfair to the hypothetical counselor. Evan almost smiled. I'm not expecting someone to repair us by Thursday. Good, because I think most of them charge by the hour. He reached across the table and took my hand. It was the first time he had touched me since kissing my cheek in front of my mother. I'm not trying to make you pass a test, he said. I know. I don't think you do. I know you believe you're not trying. He let go of my hand. That was the trouble with us lately. Even honesty could find a knife. We drove home the next morning through wet snow that became rain somewhere south of Chicago. My mother called twice. I let it ring. Natalie sent a message asking whether Wisconsin had indoor plumbing, followed by another asking if I was mad. I typed 3 different answers and deleted all of them. Evan kept his eyes on the highway. You can respond. I know. I'm not grading you. I know. You're saying that in a way that suggests you don't know. I put my phone in the cup holder. Could we have 1 hour where my relationship with my family isn't under observation? Yes, and where you don't notice that I asked for it. No. I laughed, and then he did, and the inside of the car loosened. His insurance directory gave us 14 names. 9 were not accepting new clients. 2 worked only with couples facing faith-centered transitions, which Evan said sounded like we were changing religions at an airport. 1 had an office in a converted farmhouse 50 minutes away. The last had a cancellation for Wednesday evening and offered video appointments. Her name was Lena Patel. Her website showed her standing beside a plant that looked healthier than any plant I had ever owned. At 6 on Wednesday, Evan and I sat side by side on our couch with his laptop balanced on a stack of coffee table books. I had changed shirts twice. I didn't know why. Lena could only see me from the collarbone up, and I still felt as if I were going to court. She appeared in a bright room with the same plant behind her. I stared at it. Is something wrong? She asked. No. I was just wondering if that plant is real. She glanced over her shoulder. It is. But I moved it there for video calls because the other wall makes me look like I'm broadcasting from a basement. That helped. She asked why we had contacted her. Evan looked at me. I looked at him. We have a job offer, I said. Lena waited. He has a job offer, I corrected. In Madison, Evan added. And where are you now? Indianapolis. She nodded. So you're deciding whether to relocate. We're deciding whether I'm capable of relocating without blaming him for destroying my family. Evan turned toward me. I never said destroying. You said abducting. I said I was afraid you'd act like I abducted you. Lena lifted a hand, not to stop us exactly, but to keep us from accelerating. What would each of you like to have by the end of this hour? Clarity, Evan said. I'd like not to feel insane. That may be a larger project, she said. I blinked. Then Lena smiled. Clarity is also ambitious for 1 hour. What if we aim to understand the decision each of you thinks you're making? That sounded annoyingly reasonable. Evan explained the job. He explained that he had been unhappy for months. He did not call my family selfish or demanding. That somehow made the examples worse. My mother's password, Natalie's move. Thanksgiving. Lena asked what happened at Thanksgiving. My sister was supposed to host, I said. She'd volunteered. She announced it, Evan said. Volunteering implies there was discussion. She said she wanted to reclaim the holiday. From what? Commercial pressure, I think. From our house, I said. We'd hosted 6 years in a row. Natalie canceled at 7 the night before because her oven made a clicking noise. It was an electric oven. It had always clicked. By 9, my parents had moved the entire holiday to our house, and by 10, I was in a grocery store arguing over the last frozen turkey with a man wearing pajama pants. I got the turkey, I said. Evan rubbed his forehead. What? I asked. Because I got it. You also cried in the car. Lena looked at me. Did you? The grocery store was stressful. She cried because she said nobody cared whether she got a holiday. I felt heat move up my neck. That's private, we're in counseling. That doesn't mean you get to bring out every embarrassing thing I've ever said. Then what are we doing here? Lena leaned slightly toward the camera. Claire, what feels dangerous about that detail? I don't know. You can take a minute. I hated being invited to take a minute. It made the minute noticeable. If I was that upset, I finally said, then I should have done something. You did, Evan said. You made Thanksgiving. I mean, something different. Lena asked me what I had wanted to do. Tell everyone no. Why didn't you? I looked at the healthy plant. Because then there wouldn't have been Thanksgiving. For whom? My parents? Natalie? Us? I would have eaten pizza, Evan said. You say that now. I said it then. I thought you were being dramatic. Pizza is rarely dramatic. Lena let us laugh before asking Evan why he had applied for the job without telling me. I knew what would happen, he said. What would happen? She'd tell her family before she figured out what she wanted. They'd panic. Then she'd call, staying her decision. That's not fair, I said. It's exactly what happened, and you didn't even tell them. Natalie found the folder. You still took the decision away from me. He went quiet. Lena asked, Did you? Evan looked at the screen, then at me. I took away the chance for us to go through the beginning of it together. It was not the defense I expected. I'm sorry, he said. I should have told you when I applied. My anger had nowhere to go. It sat down beside me. I probably would have told them, I admitted. I know, you don't have to say it like that, sorry. Lena asked what I had liked about Madison. I started with the practical things. The office, the cost of moving, the fact that my job could travel. What did you like? She asked again. The cold. Evan looked surprised. You complained the whole time. I complain when it drops below 60. That's true. I liked that nobody knew me. The words sounded ugly once they were out. Lena did not flinch. What did that give you? Quiet. What would you do with quiet? I had no answer ready. I imagined our morning at the hotel. Evan reading near the window. Coffee still hot because I had not reheated it 3 times between calls. A day that belonged to us before anyone else entered it. I might find out what I want before I explain why I can't have it, I said. Evan's hand moved closer to mine on the couch. Lena asked what frightened me about moving. That I'll miss them. That something will happen and I won't be there. That they'll resent him. That I'll resent him. What frightens you about staying? I looked at Evan. That he'll stop asking. The hour did not repair us. It did not even produce the clarity Evan had requested. Lena suggested we separate the decision from the fantasy that either choice would fix our habits. Moving would not teach me boundaries. Staying would not prove devotion. Evan's new job could be good without becoming a rescue boat. When the call ended, we sat in the dark laptop screen. The plant was intimidating, Evan said, deeply. Do you want to go? I leaned back against the couch. Yes. He waited. I want to go because I liked seeing you there, I said, and because I want to know who we are when my family isn't in the room all the time, and because I'm scared that if we stay, I'll keep calling fear responsibility. His eyes filled before mine did. That sounded rehearsed, he said. It was expensive. I wanted to get our money's worth. He laughed and pulled me against him. The next morning, he accepted the offer. My mother requested a family dinner as soon as we told her. She called it a celebration, but then asked me to bring the salad, wine, and whatever Evan drinks when he's nervous. He drinks bourbon, I said. I don't keep that. I know. Sunday evening, we arrived at my parents' house with 2 bottles of wine and a salad large enough to support a small wedding. My father had roasted chicken. My mother had set the dining room table with the china she used whenever she wanted an occasion to behave. Natalie arrived 25 minutes late, carrying gas station flowers and wearing a bright red jumpsuit. Sorry, she said. My life has no margins. You live 20 minutes away, Dad said. Traffic has margins. She kissed my cheek and hugged Evan for a second longer than necessary. Congratulations, she told him. You won. Evan stepped back. It wasn't a contest. That's what winners say. Natalie, my mother warned. I'm joking. She handed me the flowers as if I were the nearest Voss. You know I'm happy for you, do I? Her smile flickered. Apparently we're starting there. Dinner stayed polite through the chicken. Dad asked practical questions about neighborhoods. Mom said she had always wanted to see Madison, though I had never heard her mention it. Natalie drank 2 glasses of wine and kept tapping her fork against the rim of her plate. Dad raised his glass. To new opportunities, he said. We're proud of both of you. The toast was simple and sincere. It made me feel worse than resistance would have. Mom drank, then asked, When exactly are you leaving? 12 weeks, Evan said. Her hand tightened around her glass. And your father's procedure? She asked me. We don't have a date for it, but if it's after the move, I'll come back if I'm needed. Natalie looked up. For how long? The same question she had asked on the phone. For as long as makes sense. For whom? Natalie, Dad said. No, I'm trying to understand. Because everyone keeps saying this won't change anything, but obviously it changes everything. It changes where we live, I said. It changes who's here. Mom reached for her wine. I met my sister's eyes. You're here. Natalie pushed her plate away. Right. There it is. What? The real plan. There is no plan involving you. That's easy to say when you're the one leaving. You're not being punished. No, I'm being promoted. Congratulations to me. Evan started to speak, but I touched his knee beneath the table. I need my house key back, I said. Natalie stared at me. What? The key? You don't need it anymore. Her face went blank in a way tears never could. It's a key, Claire. I know. Do you think I'm going to rob you? No. Then why are you making this weird? I should have asked for it back 2 years ago. She looked around the table, waiting for someone to intervene. My mother opened her mouth. Dad said, Give her the key, Nat. Natalie turned to him, shocked. Then she pulled her key ring from her purse. She struggled with the metal loop, chipped one red fingernail, and swore under her breath. When she dropped the brass key beside my plate, it landed in the middle of my mother's good china with a small, hard sound. Nobody made a joke. Natalie stared at the key between us. Do you want the garage code too? Yes. Evan shifted beside me. That tiny movement was enough to tell me I had gone one step past the boundary I had planned and into something sharper. Natalie laughed, but her eyes were wet. Anything else? Should I return the sweater you gave me in 2019? You didn't give that back? Not the point, Mom. My mother looked at me as if I had flipped the table. This was supposed to be a celebration. It was, Natalie said, right up until the eviction. You don't live there, I said. I know I don't live there. Then why are you acting like I changed the locks on your home? Because you're making a show of taking things away. Nobody spoke. The worst part was that she was right. I did need the key back. I also could have asked her privately. I had chosen the dinner table because I wanted witnesses. I wanted Evan to see me do it. I wanted my parents to understand that something had changed, and apparently I wanted Natalie to feel the change hit her skin. I picked up the key and slipped it into my pocket. You were right to give it back, Dad said. That doesn't mean this was the right moment. Thank you, Natalie said. I wasn't taking your side. God forbid. Natalie, Mom said. My sister shoved her chair back. I'm going home. You haven't had dessert, my mother said, because Diane Donnelly could watch a bridge collapse and still ask whether anyone wanted coffee. I've had enough. She grabbed her purse. I followed her into the hallway. Nat. She turned so quickly I almost walked into her. You don't have to erase me before you leave. I'm not erasing you. You took your key away. My key. Exactly. Everything is yours now. Your house, your marriage, your new city, your brave new boundaries. This is not about Evan making me choose. Really? Because you never had a problem with me having that key until he got a job in Wisconsin. I had lots of problems. I just didn't say them. That's convenient. It's true. You let me think we were okay. I lowered my voice. We are not supposed to be okay only because I never tell you no. Her face changed. For once, She did not have a quick answer. From the dining room, my mother called that the coffee was ready. Natalie wiped beneath one eye with her fingertip. "Enjoy your quiet." She opened the door and left. Back at the table, her half-full wine glass stood beside her plate. My mother had already cut 4 slices of chocolate cake, including one for Natalie. "You embarrassed her," she said. "She embarrassed herself?" Dad replied. My mother looked at him. "You don't have to encourage this. I'm not encouraging anything." She kept a key she didn't need, and Claire asked for it. "At dinner, you asked for a family dinner. That is not relevant. It feels adjacent." I almost smiled. My father saw it and gave me a look that said not to recruit him. Evan finished his wine. On the drive home, he waited until we had passed 2 traffic lights before speaking. "You okay?" "I don't know. You got the key." That sounded like a question. It was. I pulled it from my coat pocket. The little brass shape sat in my palm, ordinary and warm. "I wanted you to see me ask," I said. I figured. I wanted everybody to see. I figured that, too. Do you think I was wrong? I think needing the key and wanting an audience were 2 different things. I'm new at this. I know. That sounded condescending. It wasn't. It had texture. He reached over and closed my fingers around the key. "I was proud of you." The admission should have made me feel better. Instead, it made my stomach drop. That's what I wanted. "I know. I don't want to perform boundaries for you. Then don't." "What if you don't believe I'm changing? I'll believe the life we live." Lena said something similar at our next appointment, though she charged us to hear it. "A boundary is information about what you will do," she said. "Punishment is often about making another person feel what you felt." I wanted her to feel it, I admitted. "What?" "Not having automatic access." "Did she?" "Yes." "Did you?" I thought about the key in my desk drawer where I had placed it because throwing it away seemed theatrical and putting it back on my ring seemed absurd. "Yes." "Then the question isn't whether the boundary was real. It's whether the public delivery helped you become the person you want to be. I didn't know counseling involved this many questions. It would be suspicious if I already had all your answers." Evan leaned back on the couch. "Can I write that down?" "No," I said. Lena smiled. "Evan, what happened for you at the dinner?" I was relieved. Because Claire asked for the key? Because she did it in front of me. I looked at him. He rubbed the heel of his hand over his jaw. "That sounds bad." "It sounds honest," Lena said. "I've spent a long time feeling like she agrees with me privately and protects them publicly. I don't protect them. You translate them." "What does that mean?" "You tell me your mother is anxious when she's controlling. You tell me Natalie is hurting when she's cruel. You tell me your dad doesn't mean anything by it when he expects your help. They're not just one thing." "I know. That's why it works." I went quiet. Evan's anger was rarely loud. It accumulated detail. He could remember what everybody said, what time they said it, and what we had been doing before the phone rang. I used to accuse him of keeping a ledger. In counseling, I began to understand that he had been trying to prove a pattern I refused to see. "I'm sorry," I said. He looked at me. "For what?" "For making you feel like you needed evidence." His eyes went red. Lena looked down at her notes, giving us the privacy of pretending she was not there. Moving gave my family endless opportunities to test whether I meant what I had said. My mother asked me to organize a yard sale for things she had not used since the first Bush administration. Dad wanted help comparing shoulder specialists, though he already had one he liked. Natalie asked whether I could rewrite captions for her office's social media account, because, according to her, relocation had made me temporarily inspirational. I helped Dad make a list of questions for his doctor. I told Mom I did not have time for a yard sale. I told Natalie her captions were fine. They survived all 3 answers. Our house slowly became stacks of boxes labeled in Evan's blocky handwriting. Kitchen, office, bedroom, cables. "We are afraid to throw away." I found a photograph in the back of our hall closet while packing old frames. Evan and I were standing outside the inn in Brown County where we had spent our first anniversary. My hair was shorter then. Evan had his arm around my shoulders, and we were both squinting into the sun. He found me sitting on the floor with the picture. "Look at your face," I said. That was my face. You had no beard. I was weak. You wore that shirt 3 times a week. It was a strong shirt. He sat beside me. The anniversary had been simple. One night at the inn, a long hike. Dinner at a restaurant where the server forgot our appetizer and gave us free pie. We had spent most of the trip talking about the house we wanted, the places we would travel, and how we would never become one of those married couples who communicated through sighs. We were idiots, I said. We were happy. Both can be true. He took the photograph from me. I miss them. The idiots? Us before everything needed maintenance. I rested my head against his shoulder. We could go back before we move. To the inn? One night, we're packing an entire house. The cables can wait. He was quiet for a moment. What if we renewed our vows? He asked. I lifted my head. Was that a joke? No. You don't even like weddings. I liked ours. You complained that the chairs were too gold. They were aggressively gold. I studied his face. Why vows? Because I don't want Madison to be the only thing marking this. Marking what? Us choosing something different. The idea frightened me. Vows belonged to people who were certain. We had spent weeks discovering how much certainty could hide. What would we say? I asked. The truth, ideally. What if the truth isn't romantic? Then your mother will hate it. That made me laugh. We did not decide that night. The photograph went on the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a slice of pizza. I walked past it for 4 days. Then I called the inn. They had an opening on the second Saturday in February, 3 weeks before our moving truck was scheduled to arrive. Their coordinator said we could use the small deck behind the lodge if the weather held, or the stone room inside if it didn't. They could arrange chairs, dinner, and a celebrant who performed intimate ceremonies there several times a year. Her name is Marisol Vega, the coordinator said. People love her. Evan listened from across the kitchen while I wrote down the information. When I hung up, he said, "Are we doing this?" "I think so. You sound excited." "I'm terrified." "Good terrified?" "No idea." We kept the guest list small. My parents, my father-in-law, a few close friends, Natalie. I called her last. She answered after 4 rings. "Did you need the garage code?" "I already changed it. I know. Mom told me." "Natalie, I'm listening." I told her about the inn and the renewal. She was silent long enough that I checked the screen to make sure the call had not dropped. "You're getting married again before you leave?" "We're renewing our vows. With everyone there." "Not everyone. Just the people you still trust?" The word still landed exactly where she meant it to. "I want you there," I said. "Why?" "Because you're my sister." That answer seems to be losing value lately, maybe because we've used it to mean too many things. She exhaled slowly. "What happens to us when you don't need to save me?" she asked. The question was so naked that I sat down. Maybe we learn how to be sisters without that. She did not speak for a few seconds. Then, in a smaller voice, she said, "Let me do the flowers. You don't have to do anything." "I know." She swallowed. "Let me do one thing right. I should have said no, not because Natalie was bad with flowers. She was excellent with them. She had the irritating kind of taste that looked accidental and cost more than expected. She sent me pictures of loose arrangements with white roses, greenery, and branches of tiny blue berries. Nothing bridal, she wrote, more like emotionally stable woodland people. I responded, "We are none of those things. Aspirational florals." The jokes came easier after that, so did the practical conversations. She asked how many tables, whether the inn supplied candles, and if Marisol needed a boutonniere. She created a shared document called Claire Marries Same Man. Final. For a few days, I let myself believe the key had done what I wanted it to do. Natalie knocked when she came over. She brought coffee. She carried 3 boxes of books to the front room without announcing that she had injured herself permanently. Then she found the key sitting in my desk drawer. She was helping me pack the office, which meant she was reading the labels on everything and asking whether it was truly necessary to move tax records from 2017 across state lines. "You kept it," she said. I turned from the bookcase. "Kept what?" She held the key between 2 fingers. I didn't know what to do with it. "You could have thrown it away." That felt dramatic. As opposed to dropping it on a dinner plate, you dropped it after you requested it like a parole officer. I took the key from her and set it back in the drawer. She folded her arms. "Why keep it if it's useless?" "Because it's the key to the first house Evan and I owned. Because you had it for 2 years. Because I'm allowed to have mixed feelings. You should put that on a pillow." "I would, but you'd borrow it." She tried not to smile. I saw it happen. "I'm sorry I asked at dinner," I said. Her expression shifted. "I needed it back," I continued. "But I wanted to make a point." "You did." "I know." She sat on the corner of my desk. "Do you want me at the vow thing, or are you trying to prove you're not cutting me off? I want you there. Even though I'm apparently 1 password away from stealing your identity, you once used my birthday to guess my bank PIN. We're Irish twins. It was almost mine. We are 3 years apart. Emotionally, Irish twins." I laughed. She picked up a roll of packing tape and peeled at the edge with 1 thumbnail. "I am happy for you. You don't sound happy. I'm happy in a complicated way. I'm allowed mixed feelings, but you're not?" "No, you get pillows. I get diagnoses." I sat in the chair opposite her. "What's complicated?" She pulled a strip of tape free, then stuck it to itself. "You get to leave at the exact moment you decide this family is unhealthy. It didn't happen in that order. From here, it did. Evan's job is the reason we're moving. Evan's job is the vehicle. You've been building a case against us for 2 months. I'm not building a case. You're in counseling. That's not a criminal proceeding, I assume. I've never been." I waited. She dropped the ruined tape into the trash. "Mom called me 4 times yesterday," she said. "Dad needs help going through insurance paperwork for his shoulder. She wants me to take notes at the pre-op appointment." "Can you? That's not the point. It sounds like the exact point." She looked at me. "You're enjoying this." "I'm not." "A little. Maybe a little." "Thank you for your honesty." I leaned back. "Do you know how many appointments I've gone to?" "No, neither do they." Her mouth tightened. "I'm not saying you haven't done a lot. I'm saying you trained everyone to expect it." The words were so close to what Evan had said that I flinched. Natalie saw. "What?" "Nothing." "No, that was a face. I'm discovering how annoying it is when people use accurate language against you." She looked almost sympathetic. "It's awful." Dad's shoulder procedure had finally been scheduled for March, 2 weeks after our move. I had already promised to come back for 3 days. My mother wanted 7. Dad claimed he needed none, though he had also asked whether I could prepare meals that were easy to reheat with 1 hand. "I'll still help," I said. "From Wisconsin." "Yes." "So, by phone." "You say that like phones only work in one direction." She looked down. I softened. "You don't have to do everything I did." "I know. Mom will make it sound that way. I know. You can say no. Easy for you to say from Wisconsin." The sentence was quiet, but it stayed in the room. Marisol called us that evening. She was in her late 50s, with silver hair cut to her chin and a voice that made even the video connection sound warm. She did not begin with flowers, music, or where we intended to stand. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Evan and I looked at each other. "Because we're moving," he said. Marisol waited. "And because we almost didn't," I added. "That sounds closer." She asked about our wedding. I told her about the gold chairs. Evan told her about my father losing his cufflink and accusing the hotel vacuum cleaner of eating it. We told her we had written our original vows from examples online because the week before the wedding had been too chaotic to think. My vows included the phrase, Partner in all things, Evan said. I have never used that phrase naturally. You also promised to honor my dreams, I said. I still honor them. You mock my dream about opening a bookstore. I mock the business plan. Your dream includes only comfortable chairs and no inventory. Marisol smiled. What do you want these vows to do that the first ones didn't? Neither of us joked. I want them to be specific, Evan said. I want them to cost something, I said. Marisol's eyebrows lifted slightly. That sounds darker out loud. Not necessarily, she said. A promise without cost is usually a preference. She explained that she wanted each of us to write our vows as a letter and mail it to her at least a week before the ceremony. She would keep both envelopes sealed and bring them to the inn. Why mail them? I asked. We could email. You can email a grocery list while standing in an elevator. Handwriting forces you to spend time with your own words. My handwriting is terrible, Evan said. Then Claire will know it's yours. After the call, I stared at a blank sheet of paper for 40 minutes. Every opening sounded either false or alarming. Evan, you are my best friend. True, but generic. Evan, I promise to choose us. Too clean. Evan, I'm sorry my family has occupied our marriage like a small invading country. Accurate, but probably not what Marisol meant by specific. I crumpled 3 sheets. Evan wrote at the dining room table with his back to me, one hand curved around his page like a student protecting exam answers. How many pages do you have? I asked. None of your business. It sounded like 2. It might be a legal brief. You're not allowed footnotes. Marisol didn't say that. My letter did not come until days later, after my mother called during dinner to ask whether I could confirm the inn had wheelchair access for an uncle who was not invited. I said no. She asked whether that meant no, I would not check, or no, the inn did not have access. I mean, Uncle Peter isn't on the guest list. He assumed he was. Why? I mentioned it. Why? He asked what we were doing before the move. You could have said packing. That sounds depressing. I held the phone away from my face. Across the table, Evan watched me. Mom, we invited 18 people. He would make 19. No. She exhaled. You have become very rigid. I have become specific. After I hung up, I pulled the paper toward me. I wrote that I had spent 11 years asking Evan to wait while I made everybody else comfortable. I wrote that I had treated his patience as an endless resource because it was quieter than my family's disappointment. I promised I would no longer bring every request into our marriage and call his exhaustion a lack of compassion. I promised I would say what I wanted before fear translated it into duty. Then I wrote the sentence that made me cry. No matter how loudly my family needs me, I choose the home we make together. I folded the pages before I could edit them into something safer. 9 days before the ceremony, Evan and I walked our envelopes to the mailbox together. Mine had 3 pages. His had 2, though he still denied there had ever been footnotes. You know, he said as the envelopes disappeared through the slot, we could just stay married without making 18 people drive to Brown County. Too late. Stamps are legally binding. Natalie texted me before we reached the house. Need final head count. Also, your mother is trying to add Uncle Peter through me. I replied. 18. Do not negotiate with her. Copy that, bride again. The morning of the renewal, I woke before dawn at the inn, with Evan's hand resting against my back. For a few seconds, I did not remember where we were. Then I saw our clothes hanging from the wardrobe door, my dark green dress beside his suit, and the little card from the inn welcoming us back. The deck outside was edged with frost, but the sky was clear. We had been lucky. I sent Marisol a message while Evan showered, still on, still terrified. See you at 3. She replied with a heart and a photograph of our 2 sealed envelopes in her leather bag. By noon, the stone room smelled like greenery and coffee. Natalie moved between the tables, directing 2 inn employees with such calm competence that I almost asked who she was and what she had done with my sister. "You're early," she said when she saw me. "I'm getting married, renewed. Do not create unnecessary paperwork." She adjusted one of the arrangements, then stepped back. White roses, cedar, blueberries, exactly what she had promised. "They're beautiful," I said. She glanced at me. "I can do things, I know. Do you?" Before I could answer, my mother came through the doorway holding my father's navy blazer. "We have a problem." Behind her, Dad appeared wearing gray slacks and the blue plaid shirt he had worn to breakfast. "I don't consider it a problem," he said. "His white shirt is at the cabin," Mom said. The rental cabin was 20 minutes away. Dad looked down at himself. "This is a shirt. It's plaid." "I'm aware. It will be in every photograph." That is how photographs work. My mother turned to me. "Claire, you know where it is?" "Behind the bedroom door." I looked at the clock. "I'm not going." The room went still in the small way it always did when I used that sentence. Dad touched my arm. "Good. I'll wear this." Mom looked at his shirt, then at the flower arch, then at me. "I only want one nice picture before you leave." Natalie checked her watch. "I can't go. The flowers for the deck aren't here yet." Evan came in carrying a box of candles. "I'll get it," he said. "No," I told him. "It's your ceremony, too." My mother's face had already begun to crumple. I heard myself sigh. "Give me the cabin key." My mother handed it over so quickly she had clearly been holding it ready. "I'll come with you," Evan said. "You stay. I can drive faster." "That is not reassuring." He set the candle box down. "Claire, it's 40 minutes. I'll be back before Marisol gets here." Natalie looked up from her phone. "I'll keep him from remarrying someone else." "Thank you. Unless she has better shoes." Evan did not laugh. I squeezed his hand. "I'm annoyed at them, not you." "I know. I want to do this." "The vows or the shirt?" "The vows. I'm tolerating the shirt." He kissed me, slowly enough that I felt Natalie turn away. "Drive carefully," he said. My mother hugged me as if I were leaving for Madison that afternoon instead of going 12 miles down a country road. Dad apologized again. He offered to wear his coat buttoned to the throat. "It'll look like you're hiding a wound," Mom said. "Maybe I am." Robert. I took the cabin key and left before they could turn clothing into a medical mystery. The road curved through bare trees and low wooded hills. Frost remained in the ditches where the sun had not reached. My phone showed 1 bar, then none. I put it on the passenger seat and tried to focus on the quiet. I had done it again. That fact sat beside me all the way to the cabin. I had said no, survived everyone's reaction, and then reversed myself because my mother looked sad. Worse, I had announced that I wanted to go, as if volunteering erased the pressure. I could already imagine telling Lena. I exercised a boundary and then chased it down in a car. She would ask what I had been afraid would happen if Dad wore plaid. I would say nothing. She would wait until I admitted I was afraid my mother would spend the day visibly disappointed, and I would remember her disappointment in every photograph. At the cabin, the white shirt was exactly where Mom had said. Behind the bedroom door, still on a hanger, with my father's blue cufflinks clipped to one sleeve. I held it up. There are objects that become insulting simply because of what you did to retrieve them. That shirt was the whitest thing I had ever hated. My phone vibrated once. Evan calling. I answered, but the connection broke before I heard his voice. I tried him back. The call failed. A message from my mother appeared, probably sent earlier. Found it? I typed yes, on my way. The message remained unsent. I drove faster than I had promised. When I reached the edge of the inn property, my phone came alive with notifications. 4 missed calls from Evan, 1 from my mother, 2 messages that would not load. I tapped Evan's name, but before the call connected, I saw an inn employee carrying folded chairs toward the storage shed. Another employee followed him. I parked crooked across 2 spaces. The flower arch was still standing. The white roses moved lightly in the wind. Everything beneath them was disappearing. My mother stood beside the deck, with her hands against her face. Dad wore the plaid shirt under his blazer. Natalie was near the stone room, crying. Evan stood by the parking lot with his jacket off and his overnight bag at his feet. Marisol faced him, holding my envelope. For one confused second, I thought somebody had died. I got out with Dad's shirt over my arm. What happened? Nobody answered. I held up the hanger. Dad, they found it behind the door. My voice sounded foolish in the open air. Evan looked at me. Your sister told me you canceled our vows. Natalie shook her head. Claire, I can explain. Marisol lifted my envelope. I still have Claire's letter. I looked from the envelope to Evan's bag. You were leaving. I didn't know where you were. I was getting a shirt. I called you. There's no reception. I know that now. Why would you think I canceled? He looked at Natalie. My sister wiped her cheek. I misunderstood. What did you misunderstand? She called me, Evan said. She said you had called her from the road. I didn't call her, I know. I called you. Once. It dropped. I know. You keep saying you know. Because Marisol showed me your message from this morning. Marisol's leather bag sat on the hood of her car. Evan's envelope lay inside it, beside a folder and a pair of reading glasses. Mine was in her hand, sealed, my name in the corner. I arrived and was told the ceremony had been canceled, she said. I called Evan before I left. Why were the chairs being taken down? My mother stepped forward. The staff needed to know what was happening, so you told them to pack everything? We couldn't leave them standing around. For 15 minutes? No one knew when you were coming back. You did. I went for the shirt you asked me to get. Dad took the hanger from my arm. I'm sorry. Did you know Natalie was lying? No. I wasn't lying, Natalie said. Not exactly. I turned to her. What does that mean? She glanced at Mom. It was quick, almost nothing, but I saw it. You told me yesterday you were terrified, Natalie said. I've been terrified for weeks. You said you didn't know if renewing your vows was honest when your marriage was changing this much. I said it was frightening to promise something while we were still learning how to do it. That's not how it sounded. You turned that into canceling? I thought you were panicking. So you told my husband I called you? I was trying to protect you. From what? Having to do this in front of everyone if you didn't want to. I took a step toward her. I drove 40 minutes for a shirt so my mother would have one nice picture. What part of that suggested I wasn't coming back? Natalie looked at Evan. You understood what I meant. His face hardened. You told me she said she couldn't choose me. The air went out of the space between us. Natalie opened her mouth. Evan continued, You said she was staying in Indianapolis and wanted me to go to Madison alone. My mother whispered, Natalie. I didn't say she wanted it, Natalie said. I said that was what she had decided. I decided none of that. I was trying to give you time. By ending my marriage for me? Stop saying that. What would you call it? I knew you two would talk. When? After he left? He wasn't going to leave. Evan pointed at the bag by his feet. I was at my truck. You would have come back. How do you know? Because you always do. She said it with such certainty that everyone became still. Natalie looked at me, and for the first time her fear showed beneath the tears. You both always fix everything, she said. I felt something cold move through me. My sister had not believed she was destroying my marriage. She had believed my marriage was another durable object in the family house, something she could break temporarily because I would repair it. Marisol handed me my envelope. I have not opened this, she said, and I won't unless you ask me to. The paper was cool. My letter was still inside, 3 pages folded around every promise Natalie had claimed I had abandoned. I looked at Evan. Why did you believe her? He flinched. Claire, my mother said, this is not the place. It was supposed to be exactly the place. I believed her for 10 minutes, Evan said. You packed. I didn't know what else to do. Call me. I did. Wait for me. I thought you didn't want me to. Because Natalie told you? Because you almost didn't come to Madison? Because you told her we weren't moving before you told me you wanted to go? Because last week you said vows should be true, not hopeful. I said they should be true and hopeful. I heard true. His honesty hurt worse than a defense. Behind us, one of the inn employees stood with a folded chair in each hand, trying to become invisible. My father cleared his throat. Could we have this conversation inside? No, I said. My mother looked toward the lodge windows. A few of our guests had gathered behind the glass, pretending not to watch. We can still do this, she said. I stared at her. The misunderstanding has been cleared up, she continued. Marisol has the letters. Everyone is here. The flowers are beautiful. Natalie covered her mouth. You want me to walk under that arch now? I want you not to make a permanent decision in the middle of a terrible moment. The only decision I'm making is not to perform for everybody. No one is asking you to perform. You told the guests I had a marital crisis. Her eyes shifted. What did you tell them? I asked. She pressed her lips together. Diane, Dad said. I said Claire was overwhelmed. I was getting your husband's shirt. I was protecting your privacy. From a story that wasn't true. I didn't know that. You didn't ask. My mother's face crumpled again. This time, it did not move me. I cannot send everyone home after they drove all this way, she said. You can stay for dinner. What are we celebrating? Apparently Dad's shirt. Claire. I turned to the two employees. Please take down the rest of the chairs. One of them glanced at Marisol. She nodded. The wooden clacks began again. My mother started crying for real. Dad put one hand on her back, but he looked at Natalie. Evan bent to pick up his bag. I looked at it. Are you still leaving? I don't know what you want me to do. The sentence nearly broke me. I want you to stop asking my family what I want. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry. So am I. Natalie stepped toward us. Please don't go because of me. I almost laughed. Even now, she could make our leaving about what it would do to her. I handed Dad the white shirt. Here, I said. Mom can still get her picture. Then I took Evan's hand. He let me, but his fingers did not close around mine. We walked toward the inn without exchanging vows, carrying both sealed letters between us. Inside the stone room, the candles were still in their box. I set my envelope beside them. Evan placed his on top of mine, then closed the door. For a few seconds, we stood there listening to chairs collapse outside. I'm sorry, he said. I know. No, I need to say it better than that. I don't know if I can hear it yet. He nodded. The room had been prepared for 18 people. 2 long tables ran beneath the windows, set with cream napkins and small glass votives Natalie had chosen. Place cards leaned against pine cones. My mother's name was across from my father's. Natalie had seated herself beside Evan. I picked up her place card and turned it face down. That doesn't help, he said. It helped a little. He took off his tie and laid it on the table. Do you want me to leave? Why does that keep being your first option? It wasn't my first option until today. You packed your bag. I thought you had ended our marriage through your sister. Does that sound like me? No. Then why did you believe it? Because the rest sounded like you. I folded my arms. He looked at the floor. Not the lying. Not making Natalie tell me. The part about staying. You thought I would cancel our vows, abandon the move, and send you away without a conversation. I thought you were scared enough to do something I didn't recognize. That is a very polished way to say yes. I don't have an unpolished version that hurts less. Outside, my mother said something I could not make out. Dad answered. The chair sound stopped, then resumed. Evan pulled out one of the chairs and sat. When Natalie came to me, she was crying, he said. She said you had called her because you couldn't get through to me. She lied, I know. You keep explaining how convincing she was, like I should admire the craftsmanship. I'm explaining why I believed her, not why she was right. She was never right. No. I turned toward the windows. The lodge reflected back at me. Green dress, bare shoulders. A woman standing in a decorated room after her second wedding had failed before it began. I should have waited, he said. I should have stayed exactly where I was until you came back. Yes. I should have trusted you. Yes, I'm sorry. I wanted to forgive him. That was the humiliating part. I wanted to turn around, let him hold me, and make his mistake smaller, so I would not have to feel how large it was. Instead, I said, "You believed her because I trained you to." He looked up. "My family asks," and I bend. You thought this was the bend that finally broke us. I still made the choice. I know. I'm not putting it on you. I am. Don't. I laughed once. You've spent months telling me my choices built this. They did. So did mine. What choices? Staying quiet until I resented you, applying for the job without telling you, treating every call from your mother like proof instead of telling you I was lonely. You told me. I complained. That's different. He reached for his place card, which said, "Even," in Natalie's looping handwriting. "I've imagined leaving before," he said. My breath stopped. When? Thanksgiving. Over a turkey? Over you crying in a grocery store parking lot and then going inside to cook for everyone like nothing happened. I gripped the back of a chair. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid it would sound like an ultimatum. It sounds worse now, I know. How many times? Twice. Twice? The concert was the other time. My mother's password. I sat across from him. That's why you packed so fast, I said. He nodded. I had rehearsed it. The honesty felt cruel until I realized the cruelty had happened earlier, in all the moments we had not said out loud. A knock came at the door. Marisol stepped inside after I answered. She had put both hands into the pockets of her coat, as if trying not to arrive carrying anything else important. "The staff wants to know whether to serve dinner," she said. I looked at Evan. "Serve it," he said. "People drove a long way. Do you want to join them?" "No," I said. Marisol nodded. No surprise, no persuasion. "Your mother asked me to reconsider canceling the ceremony. Of course she did. I told her it wasn't mine to reconsider." "Thank you." She glanced at the envelopes. "Would you like me to keep those?" I put my hand over mine. "No." "Then I'll leave you alone." "Marisol," Evan said. She turned. "Did you think I was stupid for believing Natalie?" Marisol considered him. "I thought you were in pain and making decisions too quickly. That is the professional version of yes. I'm not here as a professional anything right now. I'm here as the woman who had your letters." She looked at both of us. "A ceremony can witness a promise. It can't make it true, and canceling it can't make it false." Then she left. I liked her better when she was holding evidence. I said. Evan smiled faintly. The plant would hate her. I laughed before I could stop myself. It hurt. It also helped. My mother knocked next. She did not wait to be invited. She had changed into the navy dress she bought for the ceremony. Her hair was still perfect. Dad stood behind her wearing the white shirt, which made me so angry I almost admired the efficiency. "Dinner is being served," she said. "People are confused. They can eat. You should come downstairs." "No. Claire hiding up here will turn this into something much bigger. It is big. Natalie is devastated." I stared at her. Mom realized the mistake. I mean, everyone is devastated. "Is she still here?" "She's in her room." "Good. Nothing about this is good." Dad touched Mom's shoulder. "Diane." She shook him off. "We cannot leave everyone sitting at a dinner for a ceremony that didn't happen. Then tell them the truth." "What truth? That your sister made a terrible mistake and your husband believed her? Do you want everyone discussing your marriage? They already are. We told them you were overwhelmed." "No, you told them I had a crisis before I even came back. We didn't have the facts." "Then why did you tell anyone anything?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Dad stepped into the room. "What do you need?" The question was so unfamiliar from him that I almost did not understand it. "I need to be alone with Evan." He nodded. "Okay." My mother turned to him. "Robert, we can't just—" "Yes, we can." He guided her toward the hall. She looked back at me. "At least come down and thank people." "Not tonight." Her face hardened. "People have done a lot for you. The old hook was so visible I could almost see it moving through the air." "I know," I said. "I'm still not coming." Dad closed the door behind them. Evan looked at me. "That was good. Don't grade me, right? Sorry." We sat in silence until the smell of roasted chicken drifted up from downstairs. My stomach growled. "I'm starving," I said. "There's dinner downstairs. I would rather eat the place cards. We could leave." My dress was hanging badly at one shoulder. His shirt had a crease where his tie had been. We both looked like people escaping a wedding, which was technically accurate. "Where?" I asked. "I saw a diner near the highway. We carried the envelopes upstairs first." In our room, Evan opened the wardrobe and reached for his sweater. "Wait," I said. I sat on the edge of the bed with my letter in my lap. "I don't want to make vows today, neither do I, but I want to read them." He looked at his envelope. "To each other?" he asked. "Yes." "Are you sure?" "No." He sat beside me. The seal tore louder than it should have. My pages trembled in my hands. I read slowly. I told him I had treated his patience as an endless resource. I told him I would stop bringing every request into our marriage and calling his exhaustion selfish. When I reached the last line, my voice broke. "No matter how loudly my family needs me, I choose the home we make together." Evan covered his mouth. "I meant it," I said. "I know. You didn't know an hour ago." "No." His eyes filled. But I should have. He opened his letter. His handwriting was worse than usual. He promised to say when he was hurt before hurt became distance. He promised not to make my family an enemy we could defeat because they were people I loved and not a problem to solve. He promised never to confuse silence with patience again. Then he read, "I choose to build a home where neither of us has to earn rest." I pressed my hand to my eyes. There were no footnotes, he said. Missed opportunity. We folded the letters along their original creases. "I don't want to say these under an arch yet," he said. "Me neither. I want to live them first." I nodded. We changed clothes and drove to the diner. I wore jeans and the sweater with a coffee stain near the hem. Evan ordered pancakes at 6 in the evening. I ate half his fries after insisting I did not want any. The waitress noticed my curled hair and his polished shoes. "Anniversary?" she asked. "Sort of," Evan said. "Congratulations." We looked at each other. "Thank you," I said. Back at the inn, we slept holding hands, not because everything was repaired, but because neither of us wanted silence to make another decision for us. My phone was full of messages when I woke. Natalie had written 9 times. The first said, "I'm sorry." The last said, "Please don't let one horrible thing become the only thing you know about me." Dad had sent, "Call when you're ready." My mother had sent a group message to every guest. "Thank you for your love and patience yesterday. Claire became overwhelmed by the move and the emotion of the day, so the ceremony has been postponed. Please give her and Evan privacy." I read it twice. Then I opened a new message and began typing what had actually happened. I wrote 6 paragraphs. Evan woke while I was deleting the 5th. "What are you doing?" correcting her. He pushed himself up against the headboard and read over my shoulder. Yesterday's ceremony was not postponed because I became overwhelmed. While I was away from the inn, Natalie told Evan I had called her and canceled the renewal. She also told him I had decided not to move and wanted him to go to Madison without me. None of that was true. Marisol still had both of our vows and a message I had sent that morning confirming the ceremony. We chose not to continue after we learned what happened. Please do not contact my parents for an explanation. They have already provided one that was false. "What do you think?" I asked. That's clear. It says you believed her. I did. People might judge you. They probably should. I'm not trying to punish you. I know. Don't edit me out to protect me. I read it again. Should I include that my phone had no signal? You're not filing an insurance claim. I want them to understand. They'll understand what they want. I deleted the sentence about the signal. My thumb hovered over the screen. Once I sent it, my family would call it public. They would skip over the fact that my mother had already told the same group a lie. Evan touched my knee. You don't have to send it. Yes, I do. Then send it because you want the truth known, not because you want to watch Natalie bleed. That sounds like Lena. It cost enough. I'm using everything. I sent the message. For almost a minute, nothing happened. Then my father-in-law responded with, I love you both. My friend Dana sent a single red heart. Marisol wrote, thank you for being clear. I'm sorry the truth was put in your hands to carry this morning. My mother called. I silenced it. She called again. Natalie's first message arrived while Mom's name still flashed across the screen. You told everyone? I wrote, Mom told them first. She responded immediately. Not like that. Exactly like that. She blamed me for a cancellation you caused. The typing dots appeared, vanished, then returned. I said I was sorry. You said a lot of things. That was cruel. I knew it as soon as I sent it. Evan saw my face. What? I showed him. You can stop responding. If I stop, she'll think she won. This isn't tennis. That's easy to say from the winner's side. He gave me a look. Sorry, don't apologize to me for what you want to say to her. I put the phone face down. We checked out just before 10. Most of the guests had already left. The inn staff had packed the votives into cardboard boxes and wrapped the untouched top tier of our cake in plastic. Someone had placed it at the front desk with our names written across the lid. My mother stood in the lobby beside it. She was wearing the same navy dress under her coat. Dad sat in an armchair near the fireplace, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. He looked as if he had not slept. Natalie was nowhere in sight. You sent that to everyone, Mom said. Good morning. You named your sister. She was the person who did it. You could have said there was a misunderstanding. There wasn't. She made a terrible judgment. She invented a phone call. People make irrational choices under stress. Then say that in your own message. I am not discussing my daughter's mental state with 18 people. You discussed mine. Dad stood. Let's lower our voices. The desk clerk concentrated intensely on his computer. Mom stepped closer. I was trying to save you embarrassment. By saying I became overwhelmed? You did become overwhelmed. After I found out Natalie lied to my husband, you did not include everything in your message either. What did I leave out? She looked at Evan. He picked up the cake box. If you want to say I should have waited for Claire, say it. I'm not blaming you. You should. I'm blaming me. My mother's anger faltered. She did not know what to do with someone who accepted the accusation before she could turn it into pressure. Dad handed me one of the coffees. I didn't know how you take it, he said. You do know. Right. 2 creams. It was exactly right. I took the cup. Thank you. The ordinary kindness nearly undid me. Mom looked at the envelope tucked under my arm. Did you read the vows? Yes. Then why couldn't you do the ceremony privately? Because we didn't want to. But the words were true. Yes. She shook her head. I don't understand either of you. For once, you don't have to. We left them in the lobby. The drive home felt longer than the trip down. Evan drove. I kept my phone in the glove compartment after the vibration became constant enough to feel like an animal trapped inside it. Halfway to Indianapolis, he said, I'm angry at your mother. I know. She let the staff take down the chairs. I know. She didn't call you. I know. Your father didn't either. I know. Tell me if you need me to stop. I need everybody to stop. He nodded. We drove another mile. Did you really imagine leaving me after the concert? I asked. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Yes. What stopped you? You came back into the auditorium, sat down, and put your head on my shoulder like nothing had happened. That made you stay? It reminded me I loved you. I watched the bare trees pass. That doesn't sound healthy. It probably wasn't. I'm glad you stayed. So am I. At home, the labeled boxes waited exactly where we had left them. Kitchen, office cables. We are afraid to throw away. Our regular life had held its place while we were gone. Evan put the cake in the refrigerator. "Do you think it's bad luck to eat this?" he asked. "We're already married, so we're protected." I think the bad luck happened early. He cut 2 slices. The cake was lemon with raspberry filling, which had been Natalie's suggestion. I ate it standing at the counter and hated that it was good. My mother and father arrived before we finished. They did not knock so much as announce themselves through the door. "Claire," Mom called, "we need to talk." Evan looked at me. "Do you want them inside?" "No." The answer surprised both of us. I opened the door but stayed in the frame. "We're tired," I said. "This cannot wait," Mom replied. "What can't?" "Your sister is alone in her apartment and won't answer me. She texted me an hour ago. Well, she isn't answering now. Then give her time. She thinks you hate her." I do not have the energy to manage what Natalie thinks. Dad looked down at the porch. Mom lowered her voice. "You cannot send a message like that and then disappear. I'm in my house. You know what I mean?" "No, I don't." She glanced toward the neighboring porch. "Can we please come inside? I should have closed the door." Instead, I stepped back. They sat on the couch where Evan and I had spoken to Lena. Mom placed her purse on her lap with both hands wrapped around it. Dad refused the chair and stood beside the fireplace. "I want to know whether you knew," I said. "Knew what?" "That Natalie planned to interfere." Mom looked at Dad. There it was again, that quick glance. Evan saw it too. "I knew she wanted to speak to Evan," Mom said. "About canceling? About slowing things down?" "What things?" "The move, the ceremony. Everything was happening so quickly. You knew my sister planned to go behind my back and pressure my husband. I thought she was going to explain how much strain the move was putting on the family. Why would Evan need her explanation?" "Because you minimize things with him." I laughed. "I minimize you to him. That is not what I meant." Dad rubbed a hand over his face. "We thought if the ceremony paused, you might calm down about Wisconsin." The room went silent. Mom turned toward him. "Robert." "What does we mean?" I asked. He closed his eyes briefly. "Your mother and Natalie talked," he said. "I was there for some of it." "Talked about what?" "Natalie thought once you renewed the vows, you'd feel committed to the move. I was already committed." "We know that now," Mom said. "You knew it then. I told you. You were emotional. I was clear." Mom's fingers tightened around her purse. "No one told Natalie to lie." "What did you tell her?" "I said if Evan understood what your leaving would do to us, perhaps he would agree to delay things until after your father's procedure." Dad looked uncomfortable. "I didn't agree with using my shoulder." "You did not object," she said. "I didn't think she was going to tell him the ceremony was canceled." "You thought she was going to ask him to cancel it," I said. He looked at me. "That's different," Mom said. "Only in the version where you get what you want without technically lying. You are determined to see the worst possible interpretation. No. I spent 37 years finding the best possible interpretation." "That is how we got here," her face hardened. "We were afraid. So was I. You had Evan, and you had each other, and Dad, and Natalie. Natalie is not you." The sentence landed softly. I stood. "That is the problem." Mom started to rise. "Claire, no. You don't get to protect her because she's not me, and use me because I'm not her. We did not use you. You tried to recruit my husband against me. We tried to keep our family together. My marriage is my family." Dad's shoulders dropped. Mom looked at Evan. "We've always treated you like a son." "No," he said quietly. "You treated me like Claire's most inconvenient commitment." She flinched as if he had shouted. I went to the bowl beside the door and removed my parents' house key from my ring. Dad watched me cross the room. "Don't do this in anger," he said. "I'm doing it because anger finally let me see what I kept calling love." I placed the key in his palm. "I'll come back for your procedure," I told him, "for 3 days, like we agreed. But I'm not managing the appointments. I'm not arranging meals. I'm not your default driver. Mom can ask for help and I can say no." He closed his fingers around the key. "Are we still allowed to call you?" Mom asked. The wounded dignity in her voice almost pulled me back into place. "Yes. You're allowed to call. And will you answer?" "When I can." She looked at me as if I had just described abandonment. Evan opened the front door. Dad left first. Mom stopped beside me. "You will regret making permanent decisions while you're hurt," she said. I thought of our unread vows, the folded chairs, the white shirt hanging uselessly over my father's arm. "This isn't permanent," I said. "It's just the first decision you don't control." My mother stood on the porch for several seconds after I closed the door. I could see the outline of her through the frosted glass. Dad said something. She answered sharply. Then their footsteps moved away. Evan locked the door. "Was that another performance?" I asked. "What?" "The key." He leaned against the wall. "Do you want me to say it wasn't?" "I want to know. Then ask yourself. That's deeply irritating. Lena is getting to me." I walked into the kitchen and picked at the remains of the cake. "I don't know how to tell the difference yet. Maybe there isn't always one." "Great. You needed to return the key. You also wanted them to understand it mattered. And I wanted you to see." "Yes." "That part feels pathetic." "It doesn't have to." I looked at him. He shrugged. "I wanted you to see me tell your mother the truth, too. That she treated you like an inconvenient commitment? I've been saving that one. It had polish. I rehearsed it in the shower. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on frosting." His face changed. "Don't call my mother," I said. I wasn't going to. The house did not become peaceful after my parents left. It became quiet in a way that made every vibration of my phone sound deliberate. My mother did not call for 2 days. Instead, she sent updates to the family group chat. "Your father's shoulder is painful today. The surgeon's office changed the appointment time again. Natalie had to leave work early to help. I responded only to the last one. Thank you, Nat." Natalie did not answer. Dad texted me privately. "We are fine. Your mother believes silence needs captions." I wrote, "Are you in pain?" "Some. Nothing unusual. Do you need anything?" "No." I stared at that word for a while. It was the first time I could remember asking my father the question without automatically becoming the answer. The following afternoon, Mom added 6 appointments to the shared family calendar and assigned 3 of them to me. I declined all 3. Her call came within a minute. "Did you remove yourself from the calendar?" I declined the appointments. "You removed yourself as an administrator." "Yes." "Why?" "Because it's your calendar. You created it. 4 years ago." "Exactly. You know how it works. So do you. I don't know how to change the colors. Tap the appointment, then tap the color. This is what I mean. You make it sound simple because everything is simple to you. I just told you how." She went quiet. "You're punishing us," she said. "No, I'm making you manage your own calendar. I did manage before. Then you'll be fine. I managed before your father's health became complicated. He has a shoulder procedure. A procedure is still health." "Yes, so you agree. I agree that his shoulder is part of his health." Evan walked into the room, heard my side of the conversation, and silently turned around. "Mom, I'm working. If you want help learning the calendar, I can talk you through it tonight for 20 minutes. Your sister already said she would come over." "Good. But that's not the point. I have to go. Claire, I love you. I'll call tonight." I hung up. My hands were trembling. 5 seconds later, the urge to call back became almost physical. I wanted to clarify that I was not angry. I wanted to make sure she had heard "I love you." I wanted to offer 30 minutes instead of 20. Evan returned with a glass of water and set it beside me. Please don't say you're proud. I wasn't going to. What were you going to say? Your mother can absolutely change calendar colors. I drank the water. At counseling, I told Lena I had expected boundaries to feel cleaner. They feel mean, I said. Were you mean? I declined appointments. That's not what I asked. No. Then what feels mean? My mother was upset. Lena nodded. You've spent a long time treating someone else's distress as evidence of your wrongdoing. What if sometimes it is evidence? Then look at what you did, not only at how they reacted. Evan shifted beside me. What? I asked. Nothing. That was a shift. Lena smiled. You've both become excellent at surveillance. He watches every call like it's an exam, I said. Evan looked surprised. I leave the room. Exactly. Loudly. How do I leave a room loudly? You become considerate at me. What would you prefer? He asked. I don't know. Stay. Read something. Don't make me feel like the future of our marriage depends on whether I answer my mother. His face softened. Okay. Lena asked him what happened when my mother called. I get angry before Claire even answers. At Diane? At everybody. At myself for caring. Do you expect Claire to prove something? He thought about it. Maybe. I looked at him. I'm sorry, he said. I don't want every phone call to be a loyalty test. We're moving, I said. That is a fairly large gesture. I know. No, Lena said. It's a move. If it becomes a permanent gesture, both of you will use it as evidence forever. I hated when she removed meaning from my best material. The week before the movers came, Dad drove over with a wooden toolbox that had belonged to his father. The hinges squeaked, and somebody had carved the initials RD into the lid. You're giving this to Evan? I asked. He uses tools. So do I. You call them little gripper things. Once. The pliers were in your hand. Evan accepted the box like it was something ceremonial. Dad showed him the old plane, the worn screwdrivers, and a level made of dark wood. My father never let me touch half of these, Dad said, which made them extremely useful. Evan ran his thumb over the initials. Are you sure? You're going to own an old house eventually. Old houses require tools and profanity. They stood together in the nearly empty living room, talking about sharpening blades. Love again, not absent, never simple. Mom arrived with cleaning supplies, sandwiches, and enough paper towels to survive a flood. She wiped the inside of cabinets I had already cleaned and complained that the movers were wrapping furniture incorrectly. They do this professionally, I said. So did the man who installed our dishwasher. It leaked for 3 years. It leaked once. For 3 years, I remembered it. Natalie did not come. She sent one message that afternoon. Flowers were my gift. Don't reimburse me. I replied, thank you. They were beautiful. She reacted with a thumbs up. By sunset, our furniture was gone. The house echoed. Evan and I slept on an air mattress in the bedroom, surrounded by our suitcases and the box holding our vows. I had packed the envelopes with the photograph from our first anniversary, not in the moving truck. I wanted them with us. Around midnight, I woke to the sound of the mattress motor. We're losing air, I said. I know. Can you fix it? My inherited toolbox is in Wisconsin. Your first test, and you failed. He found the leak by pressing his cheek against the seams and patched it with packing tape. We lay back down, slowly sinking toward the floor. This feels symbolic, I said. Don't tell Lena. In the morning, my parents came to say goodbye. Mom cried before she reached the porch. Dad carried coffee. He did not ask me to take anything to an appointment or check a password. He just walked through the empty rooms, touching the door frames. You hated this kitchen, I reminded him. The sink was in a ridiculous place. It still is. That doesn't mean I won't miss complaining about it. My mother stood at the refrigerator staring at the pale rectangles where our photographs had been. You'll call when you get there? Yes. And at every stop? No. Claire. I'll text when we stop for lunch. What if something happens? Then I'll call. She looked at Evan. "You'll drive carefully?" "No," he said. "I thought I'd try something new." She laughed through her tears and hugged him. "I do love you," she said into his coat. "I know. I never wanted you to think you weren't family." He held her for a moment. "I know that too. It was kinder than absolution." Dad hugged me last. His right arm stayed low, but his left nearly crushed my ribs. 3 days is enough after the procedure," he whispered. "Don't let your mother turn it into a week." "I heard that," Mom said. "You were intended to." The moving truck pulled away first. We stood beside our car while my mother took too many photographs. In every one, Dad wore the blue plaid shirt from the inn. Natalie's absence was larger than the people who came. As we reached the highway, Indianapolis flattened behind us in the mirrors. I expected to feel a clean break. Instead, I felt grief, relief, anger, and an almost embarrassing excitement about choosing where to stop for lunch. Evan kept both hands on the wheel. "You okay?" he asked. "No." "Do you want to turn around?" "No." He smiled. Then we're making progress. Our rental in Madison was the second floor of an old house near the lake. The floors sloped, the radiators clanked, and the kitchen had one fewer cabinet than the listing photographs had implied. By the time the movers left, boxes covered every room. We ate pizza on the floor. "I've been waiting since Thanksgiving for this," Evan said. "You were right about pizza. Say it again. I would rather move back." Snow tapped against the windows. My mother called while I was eating my second slice. Evan glanced at the screen, then deliberately reached for another piece without leaving the room. I answered. "We're here," I said. "Oh, thank God. I've been watching the weather. We're safe. How is the apartment?" "Crooked." "What does that mean?" "The floor slopes. You can't live somewhere structurally unsound." "It's an old house, Mom. It's fine." "Put Evan on." "No." He raised his eyebrows. "We're eating dinner," I said. "I'll call tomorrow." She was quiet for half a second. "All right." The words sounded painful, but she said them. After we hung up, Evan handed me a napkin. "No trophy emoji?" I asked. "No grading." "Good." My phone rang again. This time it was Natalie. I let it ring until it stopped. Then she sent a voicemail. I did not listen to it that night. I waited until morning, when Evan was at his new office and the apartment was so quiet I could hear the radiator ticking in the next room. Natalie's voice came through small and uneven. "I know you don't want to talk to me. I know I don't get to ask for anything. But Mom told me you're coming back for Dad's procedure, and I need to know if you're planning to punish me the entire time. Because if you are, I'd rather not be there." She took a breath. "And before you say this isn't about me, please don't. Everything changes for me when you leave, and everybody acts like I'm selfish for noticing." The message ended. I listened to it twice. Then I called my father and asked whether he wanted both his daughters at the hospital. He said, "I want whatever causes the fewest arguments." "That isn't an option." He sighed. "No," he said. "I suppose it never was." "Do you want us both there?" I asked. Dad took long enough to answer that I could hear my mother speaking in the background. "I want both my daughters," he said. "What the two of you do with that information is your business." It was more direct than his usual answer. "I'll be there. 3 days. And Claire?" "Yes?" "Your sister did something awful. Don't make me pretend I stopped loving her. I'm not asking you to." "I know, your mother thinks you are. Mom thinks consequences are the same as exile. She's having a hard time." "I know. You don't have to fix that." The words sounded borrowed. "Have you been reading?" I asked. "I've been listening. That's new." "Don't ruin it." I flew back to Indianapolis the night before his procedure. Evan stayed in Madison because his new job had already given him time for the move, and because I wanted to discover whether I could be with my family without using him as either protection or proof. My mother met me at the airport with a list. She had written it on yellow legal paper and organized it into sections: medications, food, ice, emergency numbers, people who should be updated, and Robert's moods. "What am I supposed to do about his moods?" I asked. "Distract him. He's having shoulder surgery, not being held at sea. He becomes difficult when he feels helpless. He becomes difficult when the pharmacy changes the shape of a pill. That is exactly the sort of thing I mean. I folded the list and put it in my purse. 3 days, I said. I know. You made food? Some. Natalie? She said she would handle dinner tomorrow. My mother said it as if reporting a suspicious weather pattern. She can handle dinner. I didn't say she couldn't. You made a face. My face is 63 years old. It does things. At the outpatient center the next morning, Dad wore sweatpants he normally reserved for painting and a zip-up jacket Mom had bought because the discharge instructions said he could not lift his arm. He looked deeply offended by the entire garment. "It makes me look retired," he said. "You are retired," I reminded him. "People don't need to know." Natalie arrived carrying 4 coffees and a paper bag. "I didn't know what anyone wanted," she said, setting everything down, "so I bought an embarrassing variety." She handed Dad black coffee, Mom a vanilla latte, and me one with 2 creams. "You remembered," I said. "You act like I don't know you." She did know me. That had never been the issue. We sat on opposite sides of my parents while the nurse checked Dad in. Natalie made jokes. Mom corrected every detail on the forms, even after Dad had answered. I held his jacket. It was so close to our old arrangement that my body slipped toward it before my mind caught up. When the nurse called him, Mom stood. "You can't come back yet," the nurse said kindly. "We'll bring you in after he's settled." Mom sat again. Dad kissed the top of her head, squeezed my hand, and looked at Natalie. "Don't start anything until I'm unconscious," he said. "Finally, a timeline," Natalie replied. He laughed and followed the nurse. The waiting room had muted television, bad abstract art, and chairs designed to make anxiety feel orthopedic. Mom opened her list. "Claire, you should keep track of the medication times." "No." She looked up. "I'll help set reminders on Dad's phone," I said. "He can track his medication. He'll be groggy. For a day. Then he'll be irritated that we're treating him like he's incapable. He needs support. He'll have support." Mom turned to Natalie. "Can you stay tonight? I told you I could. And tomorrow? I have work. You said your supervisor was flexible. My supervisor is flexible when I ask before the morning of." I watched my mother's disappointment settle over the room. Natalie saw it too. "I can stay until 9 tomorrow," she said. "You said dinner. Dinner happens before 9. What about overnight? He won't need someone overnight the second night." "You don't know that. Neither do you." Mom looked at me. I did not step in. Her gaze lingered, waiting for the version of me who would say I could stay longer. Natalie gave a short laugh. "She's not going to rescue this conversation. I didn't ask her to. You looked at her. I'm allowed to look at my daughter. You look at Claire like she's the answer key." My mother's face reddened. "This is not the time. It never is." I stared at Natalie. She crossed her arms and looked toward the television. Dad's procedure went well. He came home wearing a sling and the expression of a man personally betrayed by anesthesia. He accused the ice machine of being too loud, fell asleep halfway through the accusation, and woke asking whether anyone had fed the dog. My parents had not owned a dog in 11 years. Natalie brought soup from a restaurant Dad liked and transferred it into one of Mom's pots, so he would think she had cooked. "That's manipulative," I said quietly. "It's therapeutic. He'll recognize the bread." I threw away the branded bag. She arranged his pills, set phone alarms, and wrote the dosage in large letters on an index card. She was not as methodical as I was. She was also not incompetent. Dad ate the soup and said it tasted different. "I used less salt," Natalie told him. "It tastes expensive. Pain medication has made you suspicious." By the second day, Mom stopped hovering every time he stood. By the third, Dad could manage the recliner, his medication, and the bathroom without an escort. I changed the sheets, stocked the freezer, and confirmed his follow-up appointment. Then I packed my bag. Mom stood in the guest room doorway. "Your flight isn't until 6. I know, you could change it." "No, Natalie has that office presentation tomorrow. I know, you'll be working from home in Madison." "Mom, I'm only stating facts. So am I. I'm leaving today." She rubbed her lips together. All right, she said. It was not all right to her. It was still the answer. Natalie offered to drive me to the airport. We made it 3 blocks before she turned into the parking lot of a closed garden center and shut off the car. What are you doing? I don't want to have this conversation while merging. What conversation? The one we're obviously going to have unless you plan to die without speaking to me again. I've spoken to you for 3 days about soup. It was good soup. Claire. I looked through the windshield at rows of empty concrete planters. What do you want me to say? The truth. You lied to my husband and told him I canceled our vows. I know. You told him I chose our family over him. I know. You watched my mother have the chairs taken down. I didn't tell her to do that. You didn't stop her. I was panicking. Good. Then we have covered it. I reached for the door handle. Natalie locked the doors. Seriously? You can unlock it? I know. I wanted the gesture. Despite myself, I almost laughed. Her face crumpled. I didn't want him, she said. What? Everyone assumes this was some sick thing where I wanted Evan or couldn't stand you being happy. I didn't want him. I didn't want your marriage. I know. No. You think I wanted to destroy something because I was jealous. I think you wanted to stop me from leaving. She looked down at her hands. Mom called me after you announced the ceremony, she said. She said once you renewed your vows, Madison would become sacred, her word. Like nobody could question the move without insulting your marriage. So you questioned my marriage instead. I thought Evan would confront you. You told him not to call me. I told him not to force you through the ceremony. You invented my decision and then protected me from discussing it. I know how it sounds. It sounds exactly like what happened. She hit the steering wheel once with the heel of her hand. I thought you would come back and fix it. I went still. You'd be angry. Evan would be angry. You'd talk. Maybe the ceremony would happen late, or maybe it wouldn't, but the move would slow down. And that helped you how? Her eyes flashed. Because everything fell on me the second you left. You said that before I left, because I knew. You didn't want our parents to depend on you. No, I didn't. The honesty was ugly and clean. I don't want Mom calling me 4 times because Dad's ice machine is loud. I don't want medical lists and appointments and Thanksgiving. You built this whole system, and then the minute you realized it was killing you, you moved away and handed it to me. I did not build all of it. You helped. Yes, you got praised for helping. Claire is so steady. Claire always comes through. Do you know what that made me? I looked at her. The daughter nobody trusted, she said, which meant I could fail and everybody expected it. You got to be strong because I was allowed to be a mess. I got to be a mess because you were rewarded for being strong. There was truth in it. Not enough to excuse her. Enough to hurt. You could have said that. To who? Mom. She would have told me not to compare myself to you. To me. You would have made me a calendar. I laughed once, unwillingly. Natalie wiped her face. I knew lying to Evan would hurt you, she said. I just didn't think hurting you counted the same way. You recover. You always recover. The sentence opened something in me and closed something else. That is the cruelest thing you've said. I know. No, I don't think you do. She unlocked the doors. I did not get out. I love you, I said, but you don't get access to my marriage anymore. You don't get private conversations with Evan about me. You don't get to carry messages. You don't get to decide what we can survive. Her chin trembled. Forever? I don't know. Are you ever going to forgive me? I don't know. She nodded. For once, she did not ask me to make the answer softer. The months that followed were not dramatic enough for my mother and far more difficult than any of us expected. Dad recovered. He learned to manage his own appointments and began calling me directly instead of passing requests through Mom. Mom learned the calendar colors. Natalie told them no often enough that they started asking instead of assigning. She and I exchanged occasional messages. Weather. Dad. A photograph of a flower arrangement she saw in a hotel lobby with the caption, "Yours were better." We did not call each other for comfort. When November came, Mom asked whether Evan and I would host Thanksgiving in Madison. "You have more space now," she said. "We're not hosting, but everyone could come to you." "No, what are you doing?" "Pizza, maybe." She was silent. "That's sad," she said. "It sounds incredible." My parents had dinner at a restaurant with Natalie. Nobody died. The next morning, Dad texted that the turkey was dry and the chairs were comfortable. Evan and I kept going to counseling. We argued. We got better at arguing before resentment could gather receipts. I answered my mother sometimes. Sometimes I didn't. Evan stopped leaving the room when she called. The photograph from our first anniversary stayed on the refrigerator. Our letters stayed in the box beside our bed. Near the anniversary of the ceremony we had canceled, Evan took them out. "Do you think we've lived enough of this yet?" he asked. "Enough for what?" He held up my envelope. I knew. I called Marisol before I could turn hope into fear. When she answered, I said, "We'd like to try again." She was quiet for a moment. "Same inn?" she asked. "Same inn, same guest list?" I looked at Evan. "No," I said. "This time, just the people who understand why they're there." Marisol asked for their names. "Dana and Marcus," I said. "Evan's friends, Jonah and Elise. 4 guests. 4. "And your families?" "No." She did not ask whether I was sure. That was one of the reasons I trusted her. "What about flowers?" Evan looked at me. "No flowers," I said. "Candles?" "No. Music?" "We can hear each other without it." Marisol made a note. "You have become very low maintenance. Trauma can be clarifying." Evan touched my knee beneath the table. We were speaking to Marisol from our crooked kitchen in Madison. Snow had gathered on the outside sill and the radiator clicked behind us. Our letters lay beside the laptop in their opened envelopes. The paper had softened along the folds from being read so often. Marisol asked if we planned to write new vows. "I want to use the same ones," Evan said, "with one addition. Me too. Then bring them yourselves this time." "No chain of custody?" I asked. "I believe you've learned not to outsource your intentions." After the call, Evan closed the laptop. "When are we telling your family?" The word made me defensive before the rest of the question reached me. "I'll tell them." "I know. You asked when we are." "I meant, when are you? Now you're editing yourself." "I'm trying not to become an inconvenient commitment again." I smiled. "Do you think I'm excluding them to punish them?" I asked. "I think part of you likes that they won't be there." "That sounds like punishment." "Part of me likes it too." I turned my envelope over. The old postmark was smudged, but the date remained visible. If they come, the day becomes about whether Mom is sad, whether Dad is uncomfortable, whether Natalie feels forgiven. Even if none of them says anything, I'll be watching. Then they shouldn't come. That was easy. It isn't easy. It's clear. I called my parents first. Dad answered, but Mom was beside him on speaker. They had started doing that after his procedure, turning every call into a small committee meeting. "We're going back to the inn," I said. Mom inhaled. "For what?" "To renew our vows." Neither of them spoke. Dad broke the silence. "That sounds good. It'll be next month, on the same weekend." "Are you asking us to come?" Mom said. "No." The word traveled through the speaker and landed in their house. "Oh," she said, "we're only inviting 4 friends. Were those friends there last time?" Dana was. "So it isn't about keeping it to people who weren't involved." "No." Dad said, "Diane, I'm trying to understand. I'm telling you because I don't want you to hear afterward. Would that be worse?" "Yes." "For whom?" There was no answer that would comfort her without lying. "For me," I said. She made a small sound. "Your father and I did not ruin your ceremony." "No. But you knew Natalie planned to interfere, and then you helped her version become the public story." "We have apologized." Dad had. My mother had said she was sorry things became so painful. I'm not reopening that argument. You are by excluding us. I'm not asking you to agree. What are we supposed to do that weekend? The old Claire would have begun solving. dinner reservations, a compensating visit, something to prove that no invitation did not mean no love. Whatever you would normally do, I said. Mom went quiet. Dad cleared his throat. Will you send us a photograph? I don't know. Fair enough. Robert. What do you want me to say, Diane? That this hurts. I know it hurts. Then say something. It hurts, he said, and I understand. My mother ended the call soon after. Natalie texted less than an hour later. Heard you're doing the vows again. Yes. Am I supposed to wait for an invitation, or can we skip that part? There isn't one. For several minutes, she did not respond. I carried the phone from the kitchen to the window and watched a man in a knit cap scrape ice from his car. I expected anger. I prepared for accusations that I had turned forgiveness into a prize she could never earn. Her reply was one word. Okay. Then another message appeared. Do you want me to send the flower recipe? The inn people used the wrong cedar last time and I fixed it. No flowers this time. Okay. The second okay hurt more. I called her. She answered cautiously. Hi. Are you angry? Does it matter? Yes. That doesn't mean you have to change anything. I leaned against the window. I'm not changing it. I know. I don't want you waiting for me to offer. I'm trying not to. Mom told you, she called before you hung up. She was crying. I'm sorry you had to handle that. Natalie laughed once. Look at you not offering to handle it for me. How did I do? Annoyingly well. I smiled. She took a breath. I am angry and embarrassed, and I understand. Those things sounded impossible together, which was how I knew she meant them. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me like I performed emotional labor. Sorry? And Claire? Yes? The flowers really were beautiful. They were. I'm glad one thing was. I could have told her that one thing did not cancel another. I could have told her I still loved her. Both were true, and neither needed to rescue the moment. I'll call you next week, I said. Okay. That was where we left it. The morning we drove back to Indiana, snow was falling in Madison. The forecast promised clear skies farther south, but I packed boots, umbrellas, and 2 sweaters because experience had not made me reckless. Our letters traveled in my purse. Do you have them? Evan asked before we reached the end of the block. Yes. Both? Yes. Show me. I'm not dignifying that. He turned the car around. I have them. I learned something last year. I pulled out the envelopes and waved them. Thank you. I hope Jonah makes fun of your tie. He chose the tie. Then I hope Elise does. The farther south we drove, the snow thinned. By the time the wooded hills rose around us, the sky was bright and cold. The inn looked exactly the same. That surprised me. I had expected it to carry some physical evidence of what happened, a damaged railing or a permanent shadow across the deck. Instead, smoke lifted from the stone chimney. Cars moved through the parking lot. An employee carried folded towels toward the lodge. The world had not preserved our worst day as carefully as I had. Dana met us in the lobby and hugged me hard enough to wrinkle my dress. I had chosen dark green again, not the same dress, but close enough that I noticed and did not change. You look terrifyingly calm, she said. I took medication. She pulled back. I'm joking. You need a facial signal for that. Marcus carried a garment bag and a box from the bakery. Jonah had brought champagne. Elise had brought nothing and announced that she was the only person respecting the low-maintenance instructions. Marisol arrived with no leather bag. Where is the evidence? Evan asked. She held out both hands. I came unarmed. We gathered in the stone room first because the deck was still edged with frost. The tables were gone. No place cards, pine cones, candles, or flower arrangements waited for interpretation. Through the window, I could see the same bare branches, the same slope toward the woods. Marisol asked whether we wanted to move outside. It's 34 degrees, Elise said. She didn't ask you, Jonah told her. She should. I have circulation. I looked at Evan. Outside, he said. We put on coats over our clothes and walked to the deck. There were no chairs. Our 4 friends stood together near the railing. Marisol faced us beneath an empty wooden beam where the flower arch had been. The cold sharpened everything. My breath. Evan's hand around mine. The sound of a bird moving through dry leaves. Marisol did not give a speech about second chances. She did not mention betrayal, family, or survival. She said, "You came here once intending to make promises. You chose not to make them before you were ready. Today, you've brought the same words back with a year of evidence behind them." She looked at Evan. "Are you ready now?" He smiled at me. "Yes." He took his pages from his coat pocket. His hands shook slightly. Mine did too. He read the promises I already knew. He would speak hurt before it became distance. He would not turn my family into an enemy because they were people I loved, not a problem for him to defeat. He would build a home where neither of us had to earn rest. Then he unfolded a smaller page. "This part is new," he said. He looked directly at me. "When I am afraid, I promise to ask you for the truth instead of accepting the version that matches my fear. I promise not to leave a conversation before you've had the chance to be in it. And if I ever pack a bag again, it will be because you have personally told me to get out." Dana made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "That last part isn't romantic," I said. "It's specific." Marisol nodded. "Specificity has been requested." I opened my letter. The paper trembled against my gloves, so I took them off. I read about the years I had asked Evan to wait while I made everyone else comfortable. I read the promises that had seemed enormous at the inn and then turned into smaller daily acts. Letting calls ring, telling the truth before editing it, saying no without building a courtroom around the answer. When I reached the last line, I had to stop. Evan waited. No one rushed me. No matter how loudly my family needs me, I read, "I choose the home we make together." The wind lifted one corner of the page. I took out my addition. "I used to think love was proved by how much I could carry," I said. Then I started measuring it by how much I could refuse. Both ways kept me at the center of everybody's crisis. Evan's eyes filled. "I promise to ask what our life needs before I volunteer it to someone else. I promise not to make you the prize I win by rejecting my family, or make my family the price you pay for loving me." I looked down at the final line. "And I will never again prove love by enduring what love should require me to stop." For a few seconds, there was only wind. Then Marisol asked us to take each other's hands. Our wedding rings were already there. We did not remove them or exchange them again. Evan turned mine once around my finger, the way he did when we sat together on the couch. "You are already married," Marisol said. "I cannot make you more married. I can only witness that you are here, that you know what you are promising, and that today, both of you chose to stay." She looked at each of us. "That is enough." Evan kissed me beneath an empty beam on a freezing deck. Our friends applauded. Jonah opened the champagne too early and sent the cork into a patch of dead ferns. Elise complained that she could no longer feel her toes. Dana cried without pretending the wind had caused it. We went inside and ate lemon cake with raspberry filling. It tasted almost exactly like the cake from the canceled ceremony, except this time nobody had to rescue it from a refrigerator. Dana showed me a photograph she had taken on the deck. Evan was holding both my hands. My hair had blown across my face. Marisol was smiling behind us. "Do you want me to send this to your mother?" she asked. I looked at the picture. For years, every important moment had become family property the instant it happened. News to distribute, feelings to manage, evidence that everyone remained connected. "No," I said. "Just send it to me." My phone rang while we were cutting the last pieces of cake. "Mom." Evan glanced at the screen, then looked back at me without asking what I would do. I silenced it. Not forever, not to punish her, just for the length of one piece of cake. Evan handed me a plate and stole the raspberry filling from the edge with his finger. "You know," he said, "we could have done this at home. We needed witnesses. We had witnesses last time." No. I looked around at the 4 friends laughing near the window, at Marisol drinking champagne, at our worn letters resting together on the table. Last time, we had an audience. He leaned his forehead against mine. Outside, the empty deck shone with frost. Inside, nobody was waiting for me to fix anything. For the first time, that did not feel like being unnecessary. It felt like being free,